Hello everybody, this is Brent Musburger. A ritual year after year has been Jim Neighbors singing Back Home in Indiana. Well, Jim couldn't make it here today. He has not been feeling well, and we all wish him the very best. So instead we have his recorded version of the beloved song, and as you listen, please send your thoughts and prayers to the family of Dan Weldon, whose number 98 Champions car will circle the track as Jim Neighbors' beautiful voice fills the Indiana air.
At home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still burning bright through the sycamores for me. The new mown hay sends out its fragrance through the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the log, how I long for my Indiana home.
Yes, the tradition continues at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. He's watching at home in Hawaii. Give it up for Jim Neighbors. And now, to say the most famous words in sports, the chairperson of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Mary Holden George.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your engines.
Spotter radio check, turn 1, you got me turn 3. Spotter turn 1, you got a copy, turn 3. Copy that, Lee, loud and clear. Go loud. Radio check, Trevor.
There is no scene in sport quite like this one. As we prepare to start the Indianapolis 500, the balloons moving skyward, and 33 nervous warriors, butterflies about to set sail in speeds of excess of 200 miles an hour. Who will be this year's champion? Ryan Briscoe sitting on the pole, the first Australian. Elio Castroneves will be attempting to win for the 4th time. And now the gentleman who will take you through this great race. Let's go upstairs to Marty Reed, Scott Goodyear, and Eddie Cheever. Marty?
All right, thank you, Brent, and hello again, everybody. And what the fans here at Indianapolis are about to experience can be summed up in 2 words: sensory overload. 33 cars screaming down the front stretch at well over 200 miles an hour. The rush of air will be so strong that whatever's not tied down is probably going to get blown away. And don't even think about talking to the person next to you, because they won't be able to hear a single word you say. And that's just the first lap. Yes, this is Indianapolis, and it's about speed and glory, Scott.
And Marty, this is the most exciting green flag a driver will ever take in their career, but it's also the most dangerous. A 3-wide start going down into turn 1 and constant speeds up over 200 miles an hour for this entire event. But they're willing to assume the risk just to get their likeness on the Borg Warner Trophy.
And you know what that glory is like, Eddie Cheever. You won this race back in '98.
This is a very unique event. You do not have to explain to anybody what the Indianapolis 500 is wherever you are in the globe. And a very special thing happens. They add 2 words in front of your name wherever you're introduced. It is Indianapolis champion.
Well, there's also some things that get ingrained in our soul, and also the great finishes that we've been able to see over the course of time. And Scott, you were involved in the closest ever.
Still to this day, I can't believe it. Finishing second doesn't feel great, and I only thought about J.R. Hildebrand last year. 799 turns perfectly. The last one didn't work out. Dan Weldon came through to win.
But the cars are out on the first of the pace laps, and as we get a chance, let's check in our GoDaddy what to watch for. 2 things really jump out at us: the new car and new engines, and the temperatures. Let's first go back to the new car and the new engines. When you go to your local dealer, you probably think about 2 things: fuel economy and having enough horsepower to get out of those tight situations. Well, it's not that much different here, is it, Scott?
Well, the car that we used last year was in use since 2003, so brand new cars for every team and driver right now. Chevrolet and Lotus have come along to join Honda on the engine front. The big questions are: who's got the most horsepower, who has the best reliability, and fuel economy will play a huge part in today's race.
And Eddie, we could be in for a record-setting day involving the heat.
It seems almost certain that halfway through this race, which is always the critical point of the race, we will be into record heat. These cars are new. It's the first time they've run at the Indianapolis 500, which is by far and away the most 500 grueling miles they will do. It is all up to making sure that you can stay focused the whole race, and the heat will affect the drivers, the cars, and the mechanics that have to get those pit stops done in under 12 seconds.
Well, there you see the cars coming around turn number 4 for the first of the pace laps here in front of this huge throng from about 300,000 people will be in attendance today. One of the guys who's going to have the blast of his life is going to be Guy Fieri. He is going to be the driver of the pace car. Of course, he's the star of Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. And there he is behind the wheel of the beautiful Chevrolet pace car for the 23rd time. It is pacing the field at Indianapolis. This year it's the 2013 Chevrolet 60th anniversary Corvette ZR1. Fastest, most capable vet in history. To learn more, just go to Chevy.com/Corvette. Well, Fieri has the drive of a lifetime. How about the guy who's got the ride of a lifetime? That's Thomas Patton from Salina, Ohio. He was the winner for this race, and you want to get that ride? Well, all you have to do is visit shophonda.com and enter to start an IZOD IndyCar race in a 2-seater with maybe the man who's driving it today, Mario Andretti. Official rules at shophonda.com. It ends September 2nd, 2012. No purchase is necessary. Across the top of the screen, you will see the starting field, all 33 cars, with leading the way, the pole sitter in the number 2, Penske entry, Ryan Briscoe. While they continue to warm up the tires, let's warm up pit lane. Get a last-minute update. First up is Vince Welch.
Marty, Penske perfect is a phrase we often hear at Indianapolis, and well-deserved. Roger Penske and his teams have won this race 15 times. Penske driver Will Power hopes for some perfection today, but his team over the past couple of years has had issues in the pits, costing them a chance at victory. Will Power today, he comes to this race on a 3-race winning streak, and if he's to get that elusive Indy win, he and the entire team will need to be Penske perfect. Jamie Little?
The 2011 Indy 500 is one Andretti Autosport would like to forget. 2 cars failed to make the field, and a third, Marco Andretti, barely made his way in. But what a difference a year makes. 3 cars qualified in the top 4. All 3 of those drivers hoping to bring owner Michael Andretti his 3rd win here at Indy in just 7 years. Rick DeBrule?
Well, Chip Ganassi's team has won 2 of the last 4 Indy 500, so they come here expecting to do well. But this month has been a rough one. They have struggled. Their Honda engine just didn't seem to have enough oomph. They've qualified mid-pack. The drivers were frustrated, but the team kept working. As a result, when they put in the new race engine on Carb Day, the last practice before the race, they were fastest. Dario was number 1, Scott Dixon number 2. Does that mean a great race car? Not necessarily, but it means there's a good chance you'll see him in the hunt at the end of this race. Dr. Jerry Punch?
You know, those heavyweights from those power teams have to be considered among the favorites, but there are some very special Cinderella stories that bear watching. How about a 21-year-old fresh-faced rookie from Tennessee? Could Joseph Newgarden pull off the upset? And could this be the year that finally Graham Rahal follows in the footsteps of his famous father, who won here in 1986? And then there's a sentimental favorite. How about Tony Kanaan? How special would it be for Tony to stand right here and celebrate the memory of his dear friend and last year's winner, Dan Weldon? Folks, we don't know who's going to win this year's Indianapolis 500, but what we do know is this: it will change their life forever. Marty?
Doc, some great stuff from all four of you. You guys be careful down there in that heat with those fire suits on, along with all the other crew members. It is now 86 degrees, and it is still getting hotter. This broadcast is available in Spanish. All you have to do is activate your SAP button. It is presented by ESPN Deportes. As we continue on the pace laps, we have a total of 12 onboard cameras, and let's show you Charlie Kimball's view. He's going to be starting in the 14th position. The man who finished third last year, Graham Rahal, he is going to be starting 12th. And of course, you already heard from Jamie Little about Ryan Hunter-Reay. Went from zero to hero in 1 year and didn't qualify. Now he's on the outside of the front row.
Marco Andretti has said from the beginning of this month that he has a car that's capable of winning the race. This might just be the year. Will Power has dominated the season up to here, but he has yet to have one really good 500.
And Tony Kanaan, he led here in his first 7 starts, but he's never won here. And this year he brings along his childhood friend, Rubens Barrichello, who raced 19 years in Formula One. He hopes to have an opportunity to finish well here today. J.R. Hildebrand, remember we saw him last year hit the turn 4 wall. He's looking for redemption in the National Guard car.
And we're going to make a little history of our own here today. Notice that you have a view of Dario Franchitti both as he's driving the car and out the front. We've never been able to bring this to you before. We have one located in Dario's car, and also James Hinchcliffe. Now, James will also serve as our in-race reporter. We may get a chance to talk to him during one of the caution periods later in the race.
Elio Castroneves, a 3-time winner here, looking for his 4th, has a great shot today. And his Team Penske teammate Ryan Briscoe on the pole also has a great shot here today. Remember, 500 miles for this race.
Let's quickly check our GoDaddy.com rules of racing, Scott.
Well, this year the rules of racing changed just a little bit since last year. The pace car now will pace the field all the way through turn 4 and then go into pit lane for not only the start but also the restart. Previous years the car has ducked in just at the end of the pace lap and let the drivers pace that field. That is changing. Also something new this year, you can pass at any time that you get the green flag, both in the start, Marty, and the restart.
It looks so beautiful. 11 rows of 3, and when you come here year after year, you realize that this track actually talks to you. It shares its memories, but never its secrets. As they come down the front straightaway, ladies and gentlemen, there is the pace car getting ready to pull off. Welcome to the greatest spectacle in racing. Pace car pulls off, the crowd coming to their feet, and down the front straightaway. Oh, what a beautiful sight. The Indianapolis 500 is green. Action in the middle of the pack. There you see 2 and 3 cars going wide. It's Ryan Briscoe well out in front right now. They make it through turn 3, coming through 4. So far, so good. James Hinchcliffe wants to lead the first lap, and it looks like he has done it. So, leader officially at the end of lap number 1, James Hinchcliffe.
We're still at that part of the race where nobody has settled down. They're still trying to get their rhythm. Everybody's changing position, and they're trying to figure out what this track is like.
And these new cars that we talked about all month, Eddie, they punch such a big hole in the air. Drafting is a lot easier this year. I would not be surprised to see Ryan Briscoe repay the favor to James Hinchcliffe here very shortly on the front stretch.
But these first 2 laps, you could tell the cars are really set up well because everybody is very confident and aggressive.
Joseph Newgarden goes around E.J. Viso. Newgarden, that black and yellow. It's awfully hard to see the numbers on this new car. As we go for the battle for the lead again, we may have another lead change. Briscoe officially leads lap 2.
This is exactly what they told us is going to happen. These lead cars punch a very big hole in the air, and it's very hard to hold the lead. And if you're behind, you can make a run on the car, as we've seen twice in the first 4 laps.
2 laps, 2 lead changes. There is Marco Andretti. He now running in the 3rd position. Ryan Hunter-Reay in the 4th spot. On board with Marco. Let's ride along.
As you watch the Firestone telemetry, we see a 97% throttle. That's just really now possibly an error in the setup on there. And another change. Here we go.
Well, Hinchcliffe tried to get underneath him. He had to think better of it, and it is very slick if you get above the race line.
The track has not been rained on since I've been here all month, and the drivers have been talking about how slippery it is once you get off that rubber. And what that really means is early on in the race, you wouldn't expect there to be grit on top, but there's so much actual rubber on the line that you don't want to wander off even half a foot.
That's the concentration level we always talk about at this racetrack. Eddie, you and I both know it, but it's especially hard here this year because of the high heat.
Down the front straightaway again. The top 4, those separated by no more than a car length and a half between each position. And that first group of cars, about the first 10, are trying to separate from the middle group. It is Briscoe, followed by Hinchcliffe. Then Andretti, Ryan Hunter-Reay. Tony Kanaan has now moved into the 5th spot. Then it's Elio Castroneves, Joseph Newgarden, Will Power, Alex Tagliani, and Graham Rahal. That is your top 10 right now. Here we go again, down the front straightaway, the drafting that the guys were talking about. Hinchcliffe going to take the lead.
We're going to be seeing this all day long.
And what I love about this, guys, is I look out from our broadcast window, nobody has sat down in their seats since the green flag.
I haven't sat down.
All of a sudden, Hinchcliffe, look at the gap he has opened up, and now the battle is for 3rd. The 2 Andretti Autosport teammates. That is Ryan Hunter-Reay in the yellow and white car going down low underneath. Marco Andretti, and he takes the spot.
Very difficult as a race driver to sit behind the car in front, but Eddie, you and I talked this month that maybe that might be the best thing to do to try and conserve fuel. Remember, new cars, new engines, a lot is being learned here by the driver driving as we see another draft going on again. Ryan Briscoe returning the favor and makes a nice pass underneath the green machine, as we like to call it, the GoDaddy car, James Hinchcliffe.
You know what they're doing that is very bright is that they're actually helping each other because they're not trying to put any obstruction in, and they're actually gaining on the group.
Down the backstretch, it's Hinchcliffe trying to reel back in. Ryan Briscoe a little bit deeper in that 10th spot is Graham Rahal as we go on board momentarily with Ryan Hunter-Reay. Let's get more on what's going on with Graham Rahal from Vince Welch.
3rd place finisher a year ago, currently running 10th. Marty, as you mentioned, the last thing you want is a problem early, but Rahal reported his fuel light is blinking.
I've got a piss out low fuel alarm. Stay out, stay out. Do not worry about it. Ignore the fuel pressure alarm. Ignore it.
Obviously, Marty's got plenty of fuel, but I'm sure Scott and Eddie would attest the last thing you want is your driver worrying about something mechanical this early in the race.
Well, it can really take away from your focus sometimes. You see his head bopping down, probably looking down, trying to figure out what's going on inside the car. I assure you that car was completely full with 18.5 gallons of fuel, but you have to put that out of your mind, put it in a different department, and just work on the car, because you know the crew will tell you when you need to come in for your pit stop for fuel.
That's exactly what they did. They told him, don't focus on that.
This time, Hinchcliffe not close enough to make the dive down into turn number 1. We're on board. Through turn 2, and again, we've seen that pattern. Once you get through 1, they seem to open up that stretch down the backstretch, and then the 2nd place car seems to close in 3 and 4.
If this first group of 4 start working together like the first 2 are, they might actually be able to put a distance between the pack behind them.
And that's what we should do as a race driver, Eddie. But as you know, when you're sitting inside that cockpit, you just want to go fast. You want to pass the car in front of you. Now, for sure, the team is telling the drivers, let's settle into a pace. Let's understand what our fuel mileage is going to be with this new 2.2-liter engine.
Well, as these guys continue to duke it out, it has been Ryan Briscoe and James Hinchcliffe giving us one heck of a show. Hinchcliffe is right now in second, but by the time you come back, if we go side by side, he could be in first. Great thing about side by side, you saw the pass by Marco Andretti around James Hinchcliffe, putting him into the second position. Let's listen in on James's radio. We might know why.
Yeah, just sitting behind him and breathing a little bit. You're getting really good fuel mileage, so just keep doing this.
So he's talking about fuel mileage already. Oh, we got a yellow. As the 69 car, or the 39 car, I should say, that's Brian Clausen. He has spun at the line. And we have our first yellow at the day here on lap 14.
Nah, started. I just need to start. I didn't hit anything. 10-4, we'll set up the pit lane here. We got tires set out. We'll get a start.
Didn't hit me.
Great save, great save.
He's got a flat left front. You can see the hole right there where he flat spotted the tire.
And Brian's such a great driver with all his experience that he has. As we're going to watch a replay here, down low, looks like he might have got in just a little bit early and a little bit low on the white line, Eddie, and the car came around, and I cannot believe he did not hit the wall.
This reminds me of 1985, the spin in the very same spot. That's where Danny Sullivan spun right in front of Mario Andretti. All right, as we get ready for pit stop action here on lap 15, we can tell you the two Lotus cars, they've been struggling with getting enough speed. They did not meet the 105% minimum. Both Jean Alesi and Simona Di Silvestro have been black flagged and brought in. Now they can try and do something to get back out and get above that limit, but it looks like Alesi is already climbing out. As we'll be coming up on the completion of lap number 15. Everybody is coming in, so let's send it down to Vince Welch as he gets ready for Tony Kanaan.
Tony Kanaan likes his race car. He says it's a little bit fidgety coming out of turn 4, but otherwise he's comfortable with the way it's handling. They did have a little bit of a radio problem prior to the race. He had to change his earphones, but otherwise it's been smooth sailing for Tony Kanaan. He pulls the 11 in. Kanaan has led this race 7 times before. Today it's his 11th start at the Indianapolis 500. No changes, 4 tires. Jamie.
Roger Penske on the box for Ryan Briscoe as a quick stop because he didn't want any changes. The car was that good. On the left-hand side, James Hinchcliffe. We have trouble on pit road, guys. Dario Franchitti has issues, Marty.
And we talk about mistakes being oh so costly in this race, and Dario has the first one for Target Chip Ganassi Racing. And they are already taking the front nose section off.
Got plenty of time.
Oh, he got punted.
Got punted, and the front nose went into the tires that were sitting there, so they'll smartly change the nose in case there was any damage.
That was E.J. Vizo in the 5 that got into it.
If he's going to have a problem, and he obviously did, this is the perfect time to have it at the beginning of the race because he can fight his way back, and there was nothing really terminal. That just goes to show you how crowded the pits are.
On board with Dario.
Now watch his hands on the right-hand side. You know, you're expecting going smoothly, Eddie, as we always calculate this. Turns, the back end comes around, a quick response by Dario, and right now he's going, what in the world was that?
And we hear that Newgarden has stalled in the pits. Jamie?
He was stalled there for an extended period of time. They're trying to figure out what exactly went wrong. He just got it fired. He is down and away. Remember, this is a rookie making his first start here, but a lot of pressure on his shoulders. He has a fast race car underneath him, but he has some time to make up now, Marty.
All right, so he comes back out onto the racetrack. It is James Hinchcliffe who got out first here at Indianapolis, the 500, just into lap number 16. Here we are at the Indianapolis 500, our telecast presented by GoDaddy.com. After 17 laps, there is Dario Franchitti. He is right now shown in 29th position, and here's the reason why.
So what a clown. Okay, it happened early. We got plenty of time to recover.
So actually, he was a little calmer than I expected. Green flag has flown, and boy, Hinchcliffe gets snookered, and so do several others, including Elio Castroneves. We got 3-4 wide. Hang on.
Is that not a traffic jam?
Oh, you don't want to be up in that grade, but they managed to hang on. What a exciting restart.
Remember, first restart with these new cars, first race this year with these new cars on an oval, and they were doing to a single file restart up in turn 4, but by the time they got the start-finish line, boy, it was like 6 abreast, Eddie.
There was no more room.
That was Will Power you saw back there. Here we go side by side. The J.R. Hildebrand in the number 4 car as another car peels off heading for pit lane. That's Newgarden in the very back of the field.
That's a very late pass. Very, very late pass.
Whoa.
And you don't want to be touching that white line.
That was Sebastian Saavedra. He had a pit speed violation, so he has to do a back pass through as he makes his way down the long pit lane. Meanwhile, out on the track, the lead right now is held by the 26 of Marco Andretti.
And Marty, when you talk about pit speed violation, you're supposed to be 60 miles an hour on the pit entrance all the way through to the exit. Obviously, he was above that number.
Fastest car on the last lap was Ryan Briscoe. This time by, it looks like it's going to be Elio Castroneves, who is running back in the 7th position. You're on board with Briscoe. That's Scott Dixon. You can tell the two targeted cars apart. Look for the white trim on the side pods and the mirrors for Dixon's car. That'll help you identify those two.
Now for Marco Andretti, who is leading, he needs to settle into a pace and see if he can turn the fuel trim knob that's on his steering wheel back just a little bit, Eddie, to try to start to save fuel.
I don't think that's possible, I think what you have right now is a poker game that's almost being run from the pits, and they're trying to accumulate as much money as they can. It's like saving money. It's a few dollars here, a few dollars there, that towards the end of the race might make the difference of one lap.
Oh, and a nice slice job exactly for that situation with Ryan Briscoe. Good draft down the front stretch and sliding underneath Marco Andretti in turn 1.
And another lead change here at Indianapolis, as Marco Andretti's now under attack from his teammate James Hinchcliffe. For Marco, when he did get in the lead, 7th Indianapolis 500 he's been in, 5th time he's led the race. Now he's got to reel in Ryan Briscoe.
Now you have to remember that 2 cars working together will always be faster around here than 1. So the leading car is almost a sitting duck, Scott.
And you know, when I was mentioning about fuel trim, you know, I bet if you turn the fuel trim back, because you're trying to push so much air with these cars, you slow the car down. Maybe you don't have that chance to be able to run in front like we did last year and sort of try and save fuel.
Well, guys, not to get too technical, but the Chevrolets, we heard, may not be able to trim as much fuel as possible because of the sheer heat that's being generated by the day-to-day in those engines. We'll keep tabs on that. As far as Marco Andretti is concerned, right now he came into this race very confident, more than he has ever been. We talked to him.
I expect to win. I mean, that's what I'm showing up to do. And I truly believe, I mean, if this car replicates the last time I drove it on Sunday, I'm going to be the one to beat.
And there goes Marco just as he finishes up, going right around Ryan Briscoe. This is going to be a fun day at Indianapolis.
And as that pass was completed from our place right here in the broadcast booth, you can hear the roar of the crowd when the Andretti takes lead.
We have had 9 lead changes between 3 different leaders. And you can see the top 6 are still all well within contact.
But nobody has managed to go away.
Oriol Servia looks like he has a flat tire. He has to come in. Rick, what do you have?
Indeed, that is exactly what happened. He was concerned because it was getting very, very loose. He said he thought he had a tire going down. They said, come in and change it. Let's be safe.
Well, that's a tough break for Servia, but it does happen early in the race. Gives him time to fight his way back. Working lap number 25 as they head around turn 2. Whoa, Hinchcliffe got high there in the 3rd car in your picture.
You don't get away with that very often. That's just turning in late to the turn, or possibly the car's not working as well as it did for him. Maybe a little understeer. The front doesn't give you the grip that you want when you turn the wheel, or he missed his turn-in point, but you won't make that mistake and get away with it very often, Eddie.
And if you do, your heart rate's probably up around the 200 zone.
All right, while this continues, want to go back and show you the restart. As you'll get a chance on the single file. It didn't look much single about it, as look at this, 5 wide at one point. Oh. Let's go on board with Ryan Hunter-Reay.
Just inches up to almost 200 miles an hour on the restart.
All right, so now you see Marco Andretti still in front of Ryan Briscoe. Hinchcliffe, Tagliani, Tony Kanaan. That is your top 5. This is lap 26. Everybody in the stands was given those glasses in memory of Dan Weldon, and a lot of those folks, they have them on.
Marco Andretti actually looks like the only car so far that's managed to put some distance in this many laps in a row on the rest of the field.
They'll do the tribute again, and there is the 98. That's Brian Herta's team, who Dan drove for last year. That's Alex Tagliani, and he is closing on Ryan Briscoe. And they will do the tribute one more time at lap 98. Those were the 2 car numbers that Dan had, 26 and 98, when he won his 2 Indianapolis 500. Stay with us. We'll be back with you after a word from your ABC stations. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the motor racing capital of the world. And one day each year, all eyes focus on this 2.5-mile oval. We had an unbelievable start to this race, passing, slicing, and dicing. We've already had 9 lead changes. We've also had incidents in pit lane when Dario Franchitti got hit from behind by E.J. Viso. Who has their likeness on the board? We're still a long way from determining that. Right now, it is Marco Andretti out in front of his teammate, James Hinchcliffe, followed in third by Ryan Briscoe. Let's check in with Dr. Jerry Punch.
And Marty, we documented that the Lotus engine, in spite of all the efforts, wasn't quite up to speed. And John and Lacey, they called you in and asked you to pull in. Given your glorious Formula One career, how tough is it for you, your first time in Indy, to have to end this early?
You know, I give my heart, I give my passion to be here. It was a lot of effort at home to train to be back physically. I found fantastic people around me. They helped me very much to be into the speed of this racetrack. We are suffering with the engine performance, so the regulation, we have to stick with it, and we've been stopped.
John and Lacey out of it, but he did say, Marty, he will be back next year.
And that would be a pleasant, wonderful surprise to have him back again. A great Formula One driver. We have word from IndyCar officials. There will be no action taken on E.J. Viso for that incident with the 50 car. They considered it a racing incident. Let's go back and reset the top 5 here. It is Marco Andretti, James Hinchcliffe, Ryan Briscoe, Alex Tagliani, and Tony Kanaan. That is your top 5. There is TK. He's a bit superstitious. It's his 11th Indy 500. It's the car number. It's his lucky number. And he says, maybe today Indianapolis will smile on me. On board with his car.
Sitting here watching these first laps, I'm trying to put myself in the position, Scott, of a driver, trying to think, what have I learned here that will really help me at the end of the race? Right now, I don't think I'd want to be leading going to the last 3 laps, because it seems that nobody can actually get away.
All right, while all this action continues, let's check in with Rick DeBrule.
Well, and right now, Takuma Sato's on the move. Bobby Rahal just told him he's the fastest guy on the track. But more importantly, he gave him some advice on passing. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Hey, Taku, we don't need, let's be a little more conservative on those passes. We pulled it off, but let's be a little bit better thinker there.
And that's what Takuma Sato is saying, that Bobby Rahal has been so good at this month, giving him a little bit of advice, taking him in the right direction, and right there, just maybe taking him down a notch. You got plenty of time in this race. Don't rush it.
You know, it's very interesting because in speaking with a lot of the drivers and even talking with Bobby Rahal the other night, talking about this, these cars are more difficult to pass in than probably the previous cars because of the smaller displacement. We are now running turbocharged engines instead of normally aspirated engines. So if you lift your foot off the throttle and you put it back on, it's a bit slower response and it's difficult, and you have to time the pass correctly. The passing setup starts in turns 1 and 2, for instance, if you're going to complete it down here in 3 and 4.
Race leader Marco Andretti has now had the longest stint up front. Between the 3 leaders, he has now led a total of 15 laps, but 13 consecutive. That's how fast the passes were coming early in the race. Take a look at the 14, the A.J. Foyt entry of Mike Conway. Remember 2 years ago, that late race crash that put him up into the fence? Well, here he is, the best mover on the racetrack. He has picked up 18 spots, and he now finds himself in 11th, all the way from 30th.
Right behind Helio Castroneves, who has won it 3 times. So he's probably sitting back here figuring out how they're running their race, and he's accumulated as much experience as he can. But he has A.J. Foyt in his corner, and that makes a big difference at a place like this. Whenever I drove for him here, he always had something special.
Well, Conway doing a fine job right now, and he has got the Honda power. Castroneves in the Chevy right in front of him. There is your top 5, and there is the legend, the 4-time winner, A.J. Foyt. We're side by side. Helicam coverage of today's Indianapolis 500 is brought to you by GoDaddy.com. What a beautiful view from high above. That is the Brickyard Crossing Golf Course off to the left. 4 of the holes are actually inside the racetrack. You can see them there. Let's check in on our race leader. It is Marco Andretti. He now has about a 3-second lead over James Hinchcliffe, his teammate. And then it's Briscoe Tagliani and Kanaan. Remember back in 2006, a 19-year-old rookie thought he was going to win the Indianapolis 500, but at the last minute, Sam Hornish pulls out and nips him at the line. Second closest finish ever in 500 history. An unbelievable run, but right now, Marco in front of this race today as we're working lap 43 of 200.
If you look at his lines, he's not even using all the racetrack. He's very, very comfortable and obviously making the right fuel numbers, Scott, but he's not even close to the wall in any of the exits to corners.
The car is very comfortable for him. We saw him just a few laps ago actually taking his left hand off the steering wheel just to relax the grip, because as you're in the cockpit here for so long, holding that steering wheel is very difficult. You want to make sure that you're relaxed and conserve energy as much as possible.
About 3 more.
3 more laps until a possible green flag pit stop. This is when the driver's psyche starts to set in, start to think about what you're going to do when you come into pit lane, and make sure you hit your marks and get a good stop.
That would be on lap 45. Marco pitted on lap 15, so they are getting what their target was, 30 laps. But now James Hinchcliffe is coming in a little bit earlier, so he's got a long way to go to get down to Jamie Little.
Yes, he does. The #1 pit box is his. He said the car just needs a little bit of help. They dropped the air pressure on the rear tires only. They'll fill it up with Sunoco fuel. Talking to their driver. 8.3. Good stop for James Hinchcliffe.
You heard a little hesitation on the exit here, on the exit for James Hinchcliffe. This year, guys, the clutch on the car is no longer down by, and you don't use your foot. It's on the steering wheel, so it's a hand clutch. And when they first started this racing series back in St. Petersburg, a lot of people had difficulty with that. They're getting used to it now, but as you know, Eddie, very difficult from what we're used to.
And they have to do maybe 10 of them. So if you have an issue with the clutch and you burn it after your 3rd or 4th start, you don't have a clutch. And if you don't have a clutch, you are done.
Will Marco Andretti peel off this time and head for pit lane? Yes, he does. So right on cue, on lap 45, he brings it in. And Marco gets down to the 60-mile-an-hour speed limit. That means Ryan Briscoe will assume the race lead. Again, he's going to head all the way down to Jamie Little.
Marco Andretti fired up, leading the Indianapolis 500 once again. Told his guys, let's do it for Danny Boy. Of course, talking about Dan Weldon. He loves his car, says it's absolutely great. They too will fill it up with fuel, put 4 tires on it. And down and away, no changes for Marco Andretti. Meanwhile, Ryan Briscoe, who started on the pole, you see his teammate Will Power was just ahead of him. No changes expected right now. He is 2. Down and away. Ryan Briscoe, 10.7, a little bit longer than we've seen so far today.
Will Power comes out of pit lane. There is Ryan Hunter-Reay still getting his service. We can tell you Alex Tagliani has assumed the race lead. He stayed out so far and is continuing on the racetrack. That is Ryan Hunter-Reay back out as well.
When you mentioned Alex Tagliani, he was the pole sitter last year.
There is Mike Conway. Doc.
And what a ride thus far for this young man from Britain, coming all the way from 29th starting spot. A little bit of understeer on exit, 4 tires, minor air pressure. He's away. Jamie Elio.
And Elio Castroneves is in. His car has been pretty good today. He too very confident, just like Marco Andretti all month long. He thinks this is going to be his chance. Wait, having a problem on the right rear. You saw him waving his hand saying, wait guys, wait. Twice the normal time of a stop for 4 tires and fuel, Marty.
And if you remember in last year's race, Elio Castroneves lost a tire late in the event, and also Will Power had tire troubles as Takuma Sato is in. Rick?
Takuma Sato brings it in. They made a slight wing adjustment. He was complaining it was a little bit loose. They put the Sunoco fuel in. Quick, clean stop, and he's out.
The 38 of Graham Rahal, he reported early that the fuel light was malfunctioning, but no issues since and no changes on that stop.
Scott Dixon has rotated into the race lead, as there you see Alex Tagliani in the 98 side by side as we go on board with Graham Rahal. Rahal gives him this position. They're going back out. Now Dixon has peeled off. So has Dario Franchitti. So they are now coming down, working on lap 49. Vince.
Scott Dixon, your 2008 winner. They were thrilled with the way their car handled in the final practice. Very optimistic today. Got good fuel mileage on the first stint. It's been a clean stop so far. Dixon, a quick stop by the target team. Rick.
And Dario, a quick stop as well. A little bit earlier, Chip was on the radio saying you're the fastest car out there. You're closing on the leaders. Keep doing it.
Joseph Newgarden stalled on the last stop. It was an electrical issue. They were trying to figure out what happened. He got stuck between gears, and you see the team. And it's stalling again. He's stuck. He cannot get it in gear. He got it going. Once he's out on the track, though, he's okay.
Charlie Kimball inherited the race lead, but now he is coming down pit road. Vince?
Charlie Kimball racing with type 1 diabetes. This is his second time at Indianapolis. A year ago, he said he was like a scrubby kid, but this year he knows what to expect. They expect more from him. It's been good so far. A little free off turn 4 for Kimball. They're making an air pressure change, and they'll push him off at 10 seconds.
All right, so it looks like we have cycled through, and guess who's back out in front here at Indianapolis? It is Marco Andretti as he retakes the lead. That is Catherine Leggen, the 6, right in front of him. And Catherine is running in the 28th position and is now 2 laps down.
And she is a rookie here. You saw the bright yellow on the back of her car along the suspension pieces when Marco was completing the pass. That's so the drivers know that there's a rookie driving the car up in front.
We're 1/4 of the way through this race. We've had 6 different leaders and 12 lead changes. And Helio Castroneves finds himself having to fight his way back after problems on pit lane. Here's what happened.
Very uncharacteristic of Penske. The rear tire did not go on, and they almost left like they did last year. He was very lucky to actually watch him lift his hands up and say, no, I'm not ready. Hold. Then he went.
It ends up, Helio comes back out onto the racetrack in the 12th position.
And there was a little bit of fire on the right-hand side also, which they managed to put out with water.
Clear out, clear out, clear out.
So we're going to go side by side. There's Helio back out on the track. We told you he's in 12th. They're all chasing that man, Marco Andretti. Puts it up. Oh, pass one. Back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Marco Andretti leads by 3.6 seconds over Scott Dixon. As we go on board, let's talk about what's coming up on the calendar, because next week NASCAR Nationwide Series is at Dover, Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. The NHRA has the Super Nationals qualifying Saturday 4:30 Eastern on ESPN, then switch over to ESPN 2 same time on Sunday for the finals. Eyes on IndyCar Series, we're heading for Belle Isle next Sunday 3:30 Eastern right here on ABC. Join us on the conversation on Twitter, #Indy500. On board there with Rubens Barrichello. Here is your race leader, and that's the view he has out the front. Marco Andretti by 1.6 seconds over a charging Scott Dixon. Remember, he started this race back in 15th. His crew gave him some great service, and there he is with the white trim on that red Target machine. Now another 4 seconds back is 3rd place, and that's James Hinchcliffe. And that first full stint, Hinchcliffe did not get as good a mileage. And Briscoe, we can tell you, just got by him, so he has slipped back another position. So move Briscoe up to 3rd. There's Hinchcliffe. And then Takuma Sato is running a very strong 5th. There they are, all 3 of them.
After Sato was told by Rahal to be a little bit more careful at this point in the race as to how you pull off your passes, he seems to have settled into a very good pace.
Let's go back and show you the pass where Briscoe gets around James Hinchcliffe.
It all starts back there in turns 3 and 4. The drafting takes place down the front stretch, and then the slipstream happens, and you dive on the inside and complete it very nicely.
But have you noticed how quickly the car that gets passed gets right back into the draft again?
There you see the 41 coming back out. That's Wade Cunningham. He's 15 laps down after an extended stop. How about Graham Rahal, second-generation driver? Let's check in with Vince Welch.
Graham Rahal says when you put together a good lap here, nothing feels better, but it's not feeling so good right now.
I don't know why, but their cars are towing up so much better. I just can't even tow up. I'm flat in the draft, and they're pulling me.
A lot of reason to go, Graham. We got a lot of adjustments. Let's just stay in it. Stay in it.
You hear him giving confidence and encouragement to Graham Rahal, but he's concerned. Maybe too much downforce in the car for the way that Rahal wants to run it right now.
That's one of the most difficult decisions that a team has to make as to how much downforce they're going to put in the car. But they have the option here, Scott, of taking downforce out from the back, which we thought was going to happen later in the race, not this early.
But the way these cars have so much grip on the road, remember, they produce about 2,000 pounds of downforce. You could almost take these cars and run them upside down on the ceiling. They have the grip because of those Venturi tunnels that are underneath, and it really helps them get through the turns here really well. Another pass about ready to happen. James Hinchcliffe doing the duty to go around. Ryan, what a great job these guys are doing.
So now he's the one that's punching the hole in the air, and Briscoe behind him is filling that void. And we'll see how few laps it takes for him to close that gap again.
Well, how about Takuma Sato right there? He is looking to get around Briscoe as well. Loses a little bit of ground as they head into 3.
You have to remember the two cars here working together will always be faster than one. So if they work together, they can shut down that distance very quickly.
Now this battle is a full 7 seconds behind race leader Marco Andretti. Andretti still in front by over a second with second place Scott Dixon. Sato takes an outside line and a defensive line taken by the 2 car of Ryan Briscoe.
Think about the power plant war that we have going on right now with Andretti in a Chevrolet. Dixon is in second in a Honda. Another couple of Chevrolets with James Hinchcliffe and Ryan Briscoe. And then 5th place, Takuma Sato in a Honda. Remember, there's a lot of pride on the line right now between these engine manufacturers. We mentioned before that the 2 Lotus cars have had problems, so they have now removed themselves from the race.
All right, let's go back and show you Ryan Briscoe checking out the mirrors. We can show you both his view and what he's doing. Look at that head turning.
Driving along, he's very calmly just checking in the mirrors to see how much the driver can come up behind him, and he sneaks onto his inside, which is his left, completes the pass, as you can see that on the right-hand side of the screen. No sense in being defensive at this time in the race.
Sato continues trying to close the gap on Briscoe. Let's check in again with Rick DeBrule.
We're talking with Bobby Rahal before the race, and he says Sato's one of those drivers you like to talk him through the race. Give him a little advice, give him a little nurturing as he goes through the race. And as I listen on the radio, that's exactly what's been going on. You heard that a little bit earlier where he was giving advice. He's constantly on the radio, and there you see Sato making the move on Briscoe.
And he completes it. It certainly was. So now Briscoe finds himself back in that 5th spot. And closing on him will be teammate Will Power. But he's a few seconds behind that group of 3. 4 different teams in the top 5. You're on board with James Hinchcliffe, who is running in 3rd, and the view out the back as well. There's his teammate. That's the man who's leading, Marco Andretti. He has now led a total of 37 laps. We've had 13 lead changes. Stay with us. We'll be back after a word from your ABC station.
ESPN's coverage of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC, presented by GoDaddy.com. Brought to you by iZod, Go to izod.com to see the latest in Izod color and performance. And Expedia. Save on your next trip by booking your flight and hotel together. Expedia.
Marco Andretti attempting to become the first American driver since Sam Hornish vanquished him in the final lap in 2006. But anytime an Andretti takes the lead at Indy, you cross your fingers. There is something known as the Andretti curse. Yes, Marco's grandfather was able to win this back in 1969, but his dad, Michael, could never take the checkered flag. And Michael is with our Jamie Little. Let's go to Jamie now.
And he has a lot on his plate. 5 cars in the field right now talking to the driver. He's the strategist for Ryan Hunter-Reay. But your son is leading, meanwhile trying to keep your eye on this team. How are you balancing it all right now, Michael?
Like I always do. You know, I always have my eye on all the other cars, and, you know, trying to stick to what's going on here, too. So it's, they keep me in line here.
Little nerve-wracking standing here watching Marco.
In my ear.
Oh, he's talking in his ear right now. He's got a lot on his plate. We're going to keep our eye and see if he can get his 3rd win here as an owner at Indianapolis, Brent.
Okay, Jamie, we're going to pick it up over here. Thank you. As there is Marco Andretti continuing around this racetrack. His laps have been in the 2:17 range, guys. He's ahead of Scott Dixon, but not as much. It's closing down. It's under a second between 1st and 2nd place. Let's get some other things updated for you. During the commercial break, Tony Kanaan made a pit stop after only 19 laps. We're tracking down, trying to find out if there was a fuel issue or something else. He is now 1 lap down in 25th position. Dropping back to the 3rd position on the racetrack is Takuma Sato. He is 9 seconds behind the race lead, but right now he has gotten around Ryan Briscoe. Let's go back and show you exactly.
So Sato just coming behind James Hinchcliffe, making a nice move. Remember, these cars do allow for great drafting. Making that move down the front stretch and going into turn 1, as we've seen many times before. Remember, you're entering turn 1 at 220 miles an hour, so you want to get past that car you're passing in due time to be able to make the correct line to set up for 1, Marty.
And Briscoe, we should tell you, also got around Hinchcliffe. So it's now Andretti, Dixon, Sato, Briscoe, Hinchcliffe, and Newgarden is in. Jamie.
And you know, he's been struggling today with trying to keep it in gear, so he's making his way back down for a stop here. The problem is when he gets into the box, he can't get it in gear to exit. Much better that time for Joseph Newgarden.
He is shown right now 1 lap down in the 26th position. Whoa, that was close for Sato.
You don't want to do that too many times.
If Bobby Rahal saw that one, I think his heart skipped a beat.
Oh, it's so difficult. You're going so fast here, the length of a football field in less than a second. We talk about it all the time, Eddie. You cannot have a mental lapse going into these turns.
But at this point in the race, he's still trying maybe to find his rhythm. You know, he's passing cars. He finds himself in 3rd place, so he's probably a little bit too excited. He's got a long way to go.
Let's go back and show you in ultra slow motion how close this was.
And see his outside tires. You can see driving over the rubber marbles, and those are starting to come off the tires themselves. You need to be cautious the next time you go through the next set of turns. Your tires are clean and not sliding.
And he probably has his right eye closed when he got that close to the wall. But you are absolutely right. You don't know if you have a problem or not.
Look at right behind him as there you see Dario Franchitti as he has now gotten around Briscoe. Franchitti, remember on the restart, he was on lap 18 in 28th position after getting a new nose. Here he is getting around Briscoe, moving into 4th.
He had a very cold and calculated march all the way through the field. He had to get through every one of those cars, Scott, 1 at a time and do it without putting his car in danger. This is somebody who knows where he's going, and he wants to get 3 wins.
On board with James Hinchcliffe. He's trying to reel in Ryan Briscoe.
You can see his hands very calmly on the steering wheel. Look underneath his helmet. This time we'll actually see a little bit of flapping going on from the balaclava that's there.
That is Scott Dixon on the move. As he gets around some slower traffic there. It was E.J. Vizo. And Franchitti is coming under attack.
And there's very little he can do. Franchitti's just running quicker.
That's Franchitti as he gets around Takuma Sato, and boy, he is making this look easy.
That's the biggest distance I've seen a driver manage to put on a car that he passed in less than half a lap.
And here comes your race leader, Marco Andretti. He is making a pit stop here on lap 74. Jamie.
And they let him know, wide open here. Take your time. Let's hit our marks and get it right. 4 tires and fuel. He's been so happy with this race car. No adjustments once again. Meanwhile, his teammate James Hinchcliffe making his way all the way down pit road. Car has been pretty good. They'll fill it up with Sunoco fuel once again. But 4 tires on it. No changes to the car. James Hinchcliffe, rev, get it filled with fuel. He's down and away. Meanwhile, Ryan Hunter-Reay, another Andretti car, making his way down pit road. Of course, we talked to Michael Andretti. He's calling the shots for Ryan Hunter-Reay. This race, he was with Marco last year. Marty?
So Marco Andretti gets 29 laps this time on a tank of fuel. He went 30 on the first go. Here comes Ryan Briscoe as he is peeled off. So is Power and Castronetta. So all 3 of the Penske cars are in the pit lane. Let's go back to Jamie.
And that's usually not something we see with Penske. They like to have their strategies different with the 3 cars, but they are pitting all 3 together. You're looking at Ryan Briscoe. You see Roger Penske on the right-hand side. Ask him, do you want downforce? He said no changes. Meanwhile, Elio wanted to get a faster stop here. They had a problem with the right rear, and he has an issue. He almost stalled it there. A little bit quicker than that last stop, though.
Yeah, he lost still about a second. There's the captain, Roger Penske, as they'll come back out onto the racetrack, and you're on board with Elio.
Watch his hands. He'll go through the paddle shifters now because the gear changing mechanism is on the steering wheel, called paddle shifters, no longer the H pattern as we called it in the old style with the stick shift knob inside the cockpit.
The reason we're showing you Scott Dixon, he is your race leader. He is ahead of his teammate, Dario Franchitti, by 11 seconds. So Dixon, who started 15th in this race, Franchitti 16th, the target cars have fought their way back into contention.
But do we have to remember that Franchitti had to come all the way from the back and pass every one of those cars to get in the position that he's in. So now we have 2 Hondas leading the 500.
Just as we were getting ready to tell you, Mike Conway was up to 3rd again. He is peeling off and making his 2nd round of pit stops. So is Graham Rahal. So right now, the Hondas with, well, Dixon, as we mentioned, he is now coming in. So Dixon, he last pitted on lap 48, and now he's coming in on lap 78. So again, he's able to make 30 laps. So we're starting to see just how far these cars can go.
And that's a trend that will make a difference, Scott, towards the end. Every lap that you manage to put in the bank, you can use at the end.
Vince?
You heard Mike Hull say wide open on the entry for Scott Dixon. Fuel mileage hasn't been their strength this year, but so far it's been pretty good. This is the 3rd straight stop. No changes to the chassis for Scott Dixon. Up and away at 8.9. Well, the target team on the 9 side's been real good today.
And as you finish up, you can see as he gets back out on track that also Dario Franchitti peeled off and made his pit stop here on lap number 79. Charlie Kimball is again your race leader. It's the 2nd time he has led the race on 14th different lead change. Let's go on board with Charlie.
He's another one of the drivers getting very good fuel mileage.
And just as we say that, he is going to come in and get some fresh tires. Now, Mike Conway, he is going to have to go on a drive-through penalty, and this is going to really hurt him. He had gotten himself up into the top 5. All right, the word is he hit a crew member coming in, and here's what happened. Oh. He got so close to the wall, guys.
That's just one of those things. You have to be really calm and collective when you come in the pits. You cannot be in a rush, Scott. As you know, you have to hit your marks, and they are so lucky that nobody got hurt there.
Oh, and I would imagine as a driver that he would feel very bad. Doc, you have more?
Yeah, that was Rodney Klossmeyer out of Hempstead, Texas, and he was the fueler. Oh, trouble on the track, guys.
A huge crash on the track here at Indianapolis. Our 2nd caution has come out, and it looks like it is Mike Conway and Will Power involved. So no sooner does Conway get back out on the track than he is involved in a major incident here with Will Power. So Power, who had a 3-race win streak here on the series and hoping to get his first Indianapolis 500 win, is not going to have it happen today.
He has always had a hard time here at the Speedway, but that is just a very good example of that. Probably or shouldn't have happened. It all started with a bad pit stop, Scott, didn't it?
And then you think about that when you get up on the track. We have to see what made this accident happen. But, you know, when you think about the drivers having to crash, they're in the car, they're moving. I think about Will Power. His wife, Elizabeth, actually works for a team here, Dreyer and Reinbold team, and does the PR work for Oriole Servia. So she's busy in the pit lane here. And when she sees that there's an accident on the track, she said, I always look to see if it's my husband.
Both drivers are okay.
Both are out. Let's take a look and see exactly what happened.
See, Conway's now come out of the pit lane. He's actually slow on the track. It looks like he's having problems with the car, Eddie. It's just loose on him. And you know something? Will Power's coming from behind. He is just going to end up taken out.
He had nowhere to go. Will Power had absolutely nowhere to go. And look how the car turns into the worst angle that a car can take.
Well, just remember a few years ago, the exact spot where Conway had his crash a couple of years ago when he rode up and over Ryan Hunter-Reay. So the car hit the wall, comes out, and then you see the Verizon machine of Will Power just slice underneath it a little bit. And for Conway, he's riding up on the top of the wall, Eddie, and luckily the car comes back down, as we call it, on all four, obviously wheels missing. But a ride that Mike Conway certainly does not want to take, and probably relived a little bit of what happened to him 2 years ago.
And we want to remind everybody watching this horrific accident that turned out with no drivers getting hurt, that these are brand new cars that have been engineered to make sure they are much safer in impacts like this, and it did everything it was expected to do. But that whole accident started from a bad pit stop, and then it just degenerated, and he looked like he was actually going slow when he started to spin.
All right, let's go on board with Will Power and just listen. That's how fast it happens at Indy. Here's Elio's view.
Caution, caution. Go low. Yellow, yellow. Nope. Stay low. Clear. Stay low.
Watch that bouncing tire. I've had that in my career, and you never know where it's going. Elio did a great job of going down the pit entrance and exit lane, the warm-up lane as we call it. I thought that happened in turn 4. It actually happens in turns 1 and 2.
Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch.
With A.J. Foyt, A.J., when your driver hit the crew member, that's what the problem was that produced the accident, is that right?
Yeah, that's what started. He slid in and, hit my fuel man, knocked him over, and that's what broke the front wing. And, we had a hell of a run going. He come from, 27th to 4th, so we had our game plan. Everything's working.
Will Power are now out of this race.
This is one of those races where everything has to go perfect to find yourself in that leading group. Those last 10 laps, Scott, you cannot have anything go wrong. It just tends to multiply itself quickly. And once you get up to speed and you have a wing that doesn't work, that's exactly what happened. It turned in. The car that wasn't there was not there anymore.
We have 4 cars officially out of the race, with Power and Conway joining Jean Alesi and Simona Di Silvestro. 2 cars behind the wall, Brian Clausen and Wade Cunningham. They are 35 and 38 laps down, respectively.
Eddie, when you talk about there's 2 races in one here in Indianapolis, because as you mentioned, the first race is to get to maybe just 10 laps left to go, and then you've got to be ready for that shootout. Unfortunately, these guys are not. And for Will Power, who was coming into this race leading the points championship, it's not only not finishing the Indy 500, having a shot to win it, but also a points championship at stake.
Joseph Newgarden makes a pit stop under this caution. He is 1 lap down, shown in 21st position right now. The cleanup is going to continue, and this is what this crash looks like in ultra slow motion. Watch the safer barrier do its job. We're going to go side by side here at the Indianapolis 500. ABC Sunday, June 3rd, America's biggest reality show returns. Every week, see the entire journey of one person over 1 year for one incredible transformation. Extreme Makeover Weight Loss Edition. It premieres next Sunday at 10 p.m. Eastern. All right, we're under our second caution as a 2-car crash takes out Mike Conway and Will Power. And you can see the wing dragging.
The right front part of the wing is dragging on the ground. The aerodynamic balance of this car is totally upset. He tries to catch it. He can't. He blocks the only area where Will Power can go. He tries to brake. He gets under the car, lifts it into the fence, rides the fence, and you'll see Castroneves in a second, who makes it through the accident. They were both very lucky.
Yeah, he splits the middle to get through first, and then all of a sudden, look at this, and watch how close this is, folks.
I hit a right front tire. The guy was spinning, bouncing, and I hit with on the top of my right front tire.
I'm looking at the suspension, though. It doesn't look like there's any damage.
No, and good thing because it hit the tire and wheel assembly, so it actually absorbed it. But the most important thing that I think I learned from that, how calm he was. He's going through an accident and just everything happened in front of him. And in turn, the wheel's almost coming into the cockpit, calmly got on the radio and just said, hey, I need a front tire.
All right, so while we continue the cleanup, there is one more look at what could have been, wow, it was ugly. But luckily, both Mike Conway and Will Power are A-OK.
The Mother's Race Rundown will get us caught up with what's happened so far. It has been very eventful right from the start. Briscoe and Hinchcliffe, they traded the lead in the early going of this Indianapolis 500. Then there was trouble in the pits. Franchitti was nicked in the back, and so Franchitti was slowed down, and he's made a huge jump since then and is now in third place. Newgarden also had difficulty down in the pit, as did Elio, who was slowed down. Castroneves is now 10th overall. And of course, we are still under caution here with Marco Andretti in the lead. A grandfather, very happy, as is a father. But what's interesting about the father, he's not in direct communication with Marco here today. Then, of course, we also had a very unfortunate crash. But as Eddie Cheever said, with these new cars, it is remarkable that Mike Conway was able to walk away from this after he was riding up on the wall like that. And Will Power very lucky. And then Castroneves gets by with that tire bouncing in his direction. And as Scott Goodyear said, it was because that tire just touched the top of the tire and rolled on. And as he said, how calm was Elio Castroneves while that was going out on the track. And so, Marty, I think I'll tell you, we are so fortunate that we did not have a tragedy with that accident the way it seemed at first.
Safety did its job on this new DW12 as we are now working lap number 87 as you see the circuit on Elio Castroneves. Marco Andretti out in front of Scott Dixon and Dario Franchitti. That's right, Target Chip Ganassi's in second and third. Jamie, what do you have?
Well, we keep talking about the heat down here. Marco Andretti on the radio just moments ago.
Man, my boot is just melted to the throttle. Copy that. We'll have to remember that for Fontana and stuff. Get some air blowing through there.
Saying his boot is melting, and we are green again, guys.
And again, we get a really 3-wide, 4-wide start as everybody's going for position. There's Franchitti further back. Now remember, they do not move the lap cars until the final 20 laps. So a number of these cars in this pack are a lap or two down.
Once all of this cleans out, Andretti's going to have to deal with Dixon, Kanaan, and Franchitti.
That first car you see is the blue and white 77 of Simon Pagenaud. He is one lap down in 18th. He is the first car one lap down, 17 on the lead lap. The race leader is Marco Andretti, and here comes Takuma Sato as he's trying to get around Tony Kanaan. Now that is for position. On board with Kanaan.
Now you'd think that the car that's leading this group could easily pull over to one side and let everybody go by. That's the worst possible thing he can do. He has to keep his space, Scott, so everybody can calmly make their way around him. Because if you lift off on the throttle, you'll have an enormous traffic jam behind you.
And that is a function of these motors that we talked about earlier, Eddie, because 2.2-liter turbocharged will take your foot off the throttle a little bit. The drivers are saying the response is not there. It takes a while to get back up to speed.
There's Hinchcliffe on the left of your screen, Ryan Hunter-Reay. And up front, that is Marco Andretti. Now, he is going around Simon Pagenaud. As we pointed out, Pagenaud is a lap down. Right behind in second place, behind Pagenaud, there you see the red and white target machine of Scott Dixon. He should get around him here. Sato is shown in third.
And here he comes.
Oh, do we have more problems? Anna Beatrice has spun it and made contact with the wall.
And made contact slightly with the wall here. Let's watch this now.
It's open. We're going to come in and take a look.
She is down in turn number 2.
Running back in 24th position. Last lap by, she was at 217 miles an hour.
And our third caution is out.
This is her second race. Remember, she ran a race just over in Brazil. Looking forward to this because she's trying to catapult the event here at Indianapolis to gain some more sponsorship to get back into the series full time. A very talented driver. And maybe not too much damage for her to be able to get back into the race, Marty.
She finished 21st back in 2010, 21st again last year. She was the only car that did not get any practice time on Carburation Day on Friday. Let's go back and show you exactly what happened to Anna.
Now you look down on the bottom. Car is just coming around a little bit. Her line looked good, Eddie, so maybe the back end of the car is just a little bit loose, as we call it. Oversteer, that's when the back end wants to pass the front. It certainly looks like that's the case. Let's watch her line. She's starting to come through. As we mentioned, she goes off towards the turn. Something's just a little bit crazy. Let's ride along and just sort of watch.
Head.
And the second car that was coming up on Anna there was the 20 of Ed Carpenter.
And when that happens in front of you, Eddie, boy, your heart rate starts going, doesn't it? And you don't think about it, it just reacts.
You have to be on automatic. You can't be thinking which part of the track are they going to go to. You just instinctively try to figure out where it's going to bounce and you try to avoid it. But those are 2 spins that we've seen that happen really early. That's why they're not getting into the wall. They happen early, they tend to get the spin out of the way, then they find themselves in the middle of the track where the bigger problem is the people that are arriving.
And it looks like we're going to have some takers on pit lane as Marco Andretti is coming down, the race leader. Several others finding, whoa, and you saw Ryan Hunter-Reay change his mind at the very last minute. As they make their pit stop from high above. Those seats were sold, folks. A lot of folks are getting under the shade and getting some fluids because it is hot. Let's go down to Rick DeBrule.
Takuma Sato comes in, no adjustments on the car. They made a slight wing adjustment last time. He gets out very cleanly and safely, likes the car.
All right, so there's Sato going back out. There is James Hinchcliffe in the number 27. Oh, and they've got a problem. The left rear.
Take your time.
Luckily for them, this is under caution.
Okay, go, clear.
Hinchcliffe comes back out.
Now for a crew member that couldn't get the service work performed, they feel really bad. The rest of the guys in the team will rally around them saying, hey, don't worry about it. Next stop, we'll do it right.
So we are working lap number 92.
And we have 2 opposite strategies now. Dixon stayed out with Franchitti.
And they are shown as first and second on the racetrack right now, with Ryan Hunter-Reay third. Now, the last time Franchitti and Dixon pitted was on lap 78. Ryan Hunter-Reay on lap 74. Let's go back and show you Ryan giving the fake to everybody. I'm going to change my mind. All right, so we are still trying to get Anna Beatrice back to pit lane. They finally got her under tow. Stay with us. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC station.
ESPN's coverage of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC, presented by GoDaddy.com. Brought to you by Mother's Polish. There's no shine like Mother's. And Progressive. Visit Progressive.com today.
Under our third caution here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and we may get an idea now about fuel strategy, because Marco Andretti is now 11th after stopping here back on lap number 91. Up front is Scott Dixon, Dario Franchitti. They stopped last on 78. Let's listen in to Kyle Moyer, the strategist for the 26 of Marco Andretti.
Are you kidding me? We just went in traffic trimmed.
Yeah, no, Marco, but it's okay. There's one stop class. Those guys are making too much fuel. They already had 8 laps on it, and we were at half tanks already.
So let's explain that, guys.
Well, it tells you what Marco was seeing, that those guys are coming in for fuel, and as a driver, you sort of want to do what the leaders do, or if you're a leader, you hope that the guys behind you are doing exactly what you have up your sleeve.
Whoa, look at this. On pit out. And that's one of the things that Marco's upset about, because that was on a bid trying to get back.
And lucky for him, he did not get hit from behind and have to come in and make a change with the rear wing or what have you. We saw
Ryan Briscoe's view.
Yeah. Remember, Anna Beatrice went backwards into the wall. I'm only assuming because they started her that she now has a gearbox problem and can't keep it in gear.
Let's quickly check in with Rick DeBrule.
Yeah, let's talk to Chip Ganassi. It seems we've entered the strategy phase. You chose to leave your guys out. Why?
Well, Rick, we only used 4 gallons of fuel. You know, it's just a splash all we used. So I don't know that, you know, those guys obviously aren't getting the mileage we are, but I don't know what that means at this point in the race.
All right, thanks a lot, Chip.
They have gotten 30 laps under green, both those cars, and he sounded like a Cheshire cat. Single file restart here at Indianapolis, and up front it is Scott Dixon. And here they come as they accelerate down the front straightaway.
Green.
Now there are lap traffic cars in that mix as well. There's Franchitti, about the 5th car back on the right side of your screen, down low in the red. Oh, we're going to go side by side. Hang on.
This is where everybody has to keep their line.
That was Sebastian Saavedra right alongside of Dario Franchitti.
And again, the blue and white car of Simon Pagenaud, number 77, takes the lead. He's trying to get his lap back, but a lot of action here back in the pack.
Boy, look at the way these cars are slicing across this racetrack.
The second car in line, the red, white, and green machine, was Michel. He just actually has done a great job. He's trying to do much the same sort of thing.
You notice Helio Castroneves was going the wrong direction. He's under attack there and getting past. That's Dario Franchitti getting around the 28, the yellow and white car of Ryan Hunter-Reay. So Franchitti now back up into second after Ryan Hunter-Reay snuck around on the outside a lap earlier.
The leaders really have to hold their patience on these restarts, Scott, don't they? Because you can get really caught up in these back markers that are not going as fast as you, but the differential in the speeds is not that great. You actually have to take them one at a time.
You know what happens to the car that's actually behind you when you're doing passing, Eddie, and he's trying to make a move at the same time.
That's Dario Franchitti on the right side of your screen, still duking it out with Sebastian Saavedra. And we are on lap number 98. Again, the tribute to Dan Weldon from the fans. That is Susie Weldon on the right side of your screen. It has been a difficult but a proud week for her, as lap 98 is in the record books. And Dan would say right now, hey fellas, it's time to go back to racing. Let's do it. It is Scott Dixon still up front. There he is. He's actually the 3rd car in line. The 2 cars in front of him are trying to stay up there, hoping to catch a yellow and maybe get back on the lead lap. Then the car right behind is Alex Tagliani in that 98. He also a lap down. And then it's Dixon's teammate, Dario Franchitti, who is actually in second place. There they are.
So what can happen once all of this traffic clears out is that the two Target Ganassi cars will start working together. They will be more efficient, Scott, at saving fuel, which, by the way, it looks like they're actually producing fuel when you compare it to the other cars they're racing against.
And all month long we've heard that the Chevrolets were better in fuel mileage, but I will tell you that I have run for Honda before. Very resourceful. They're always working hard, always coming up with something new. We did that for qualifying, also for the race here. So I would assume that they've done their homework here, and the drivers are very confident at this point in time because they have something underneath them that they feel they can drive to the front.
Well, Eddie, all the information we got throughout the week leading up to pole day was that the Chevrolets were getting about 2 laps more than the Hondas, but right now here comes Alex Tagliani again. Now remember, he is trying to get a lap back, so Dixon's not going to mess with him this early in the race.
We're halfway.
And we are now halfway in this event. Let's get an update on Scott Dixon. Vince?
Everything running to perfection for the 9 team of Scott Dixon. The tires have looked good. The mechanical balance has been good. And the fuel mileage, just as you guys were discussing, has been excellent. 4.1 is the target they've been shooting for. And Dixon has been able to do it when he's been in traffic. For instance, he was running behind Marco Andretti. And then out front, they've been real happy with where they're hitting on the fuel mileage number.
Well, you're looking at 2 of the best guys that can make fuel when they have to.
I cannot emphasize enough how important it is for this team to have both cars running this closely. Because from the strategic point of view, the pits can now, Scott, make them, they can set up a plan and they can execute it perfectly because it looks like they're far enough ahead from cars that can bother them, and they can just keep on hitting their marks, making fuel. The more fuel you make, the better off you're going to be at the end of this game.
Behind him, it's Ryan Hunter-Reay, Graham Rahal, and yes, Justin Wilson has poked his way into the top 5. We're going to step aside. There is the top 5 with 99 laps to go at the Indianapolis 500. Look at that Cheshire Cat. He knows he's got something in the bank right now. And Dario Franchitti, well, could he be a 3-time winner? How about Dixon? Maybe a 2-timer. Here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, it is Target Chip Ganassi with all 4 cars in the top 7. Dixon and Franchitti running first and second. Let's take a look at our Firestone weather conditions. Right now our air temperature is 90 degrees. The track temperature is 130, and it is going up. The all-time record back in 1937, Wilbur Shaw drove for 4.5 hours in 92-degree heat. And there you see the record temperatures. All right, let's talk about what the teams are doing down in the IZOD Performance Pit. Jamie Little.
Well, Marty, I'll tell you, it's the humidity that's really getting to these crews, and we've seen some mistakes on pit road already. Just to give you an idea, who is the hottest on pit road? The gasmen. They're required to wear a 3-layer fire suit, a long-sleeve Nomex, and a full-face helmet. So the heat's starting to get to some of these crews down here. It's the humidity. You heard Marco Andretti say his boot is actually melting to his gas pedal, and the temperature's only going up. Marty?
What's the cockpit temperature like, guys?
110, 120?
And I think the heat that we're having now with the ambient, I think it's probably even hotter than that inside. And if he's melting his boot onto the metal gas pedal, that is something he's feeling all the way through his body. As Jamie mentioned, it's only getting worse. And you know what it's like, Eddie. The sweat just comes. You're now soaked all the way through your 3-layer suit, and the sweat's coming down into your eyes. Sometimes it's difficult to see, but you cannot make a mistake.
The fact that you're still sweating is a positive. The problem is when you stop sweating because you're running out of water, and you've gone through that 2-liter bottle you have that's supposed to help you hydrate, and when that's gone and you stop sweating and your mouth gets dry, that's when you start making big mistakes because physiologically you're just falling behind.
Ryan Briscoe, is he slowing? Does not look as fast right now. Let's check in. He looks like he's working the tools a little.
They went between gears, and I had to go to emergency shift to get out of gear, to get easy gear.
Gear issue.
Pick it up then. Keep going. Good job. Pick it up.
So he had a gear issue. You have to go to an emergency setting to get the gearbox to function again. So it almost sounds like a computer issue more than a gearbox issue.
And all running electronics, he would simply change the switch on his steering wheel to do that, and he went down from about 217 to down to 212 miles an hour that previous lap. Seems like everything is back running properly for him now.
That was absolutely brilliant cold thinking on his side, though, because he figured out exactly what to do and switch to emergency without wasting too much time.
Look at the difference between his fastest lap and the last lap. 7 miles an hour. So right now, Ryan Briscoe continues as one of 2 remaining bullets for Team Penske. As he continues to motor around this 2.5-mile layout, he is shown in 17th position, a full 17.7 seconds behind. His history here, his best finish was 5th, and he was driving for Penske, but it was Jay Penske that year. 3 of the last 4 times he has had crashes and taken out of the race, including last year when he got collected through no fault of his own. All right, let's go back and show you the race lead, because again we still have several cars in front of Scott Dixon and Dario Franchitti, and there they are, the 2 red cars.
Now Scott, maybe somebody looking at the TV right now would wonder, why don't the 2 target cars pass those cars that are ahead of them? What they're actually doing, this is like a bicycle race. They're using the cars ahead of them to save fuel. Every lap they can run at speed and have somebody else opening up the air for them. That's more fuel they manage to save that they will have in the bank for that last rush to the end.
And those cars that are in front of them, Eddie, are very happy because if a yellow comes out, they will get their lap back, because there's still the distance of the racetrack behind the lead group.
That's called a win-win, isn't it?
It is.
Ryan Hunter-Reay has peeled off, and he's heading towards you, Jamie Little.
And remember, he was one of the cars that stayed out. Michael Andretti on the radio calling his driver down pit road. Earlier on, he had a big vibration, and he said he kept hitting the rev limiter on the restarts. Car seems to be getting better. 4 tires here. They'll put Sunoco fuel in it, and actually, no changes. Ryan Hunter-Reay, 9.1.
So Ryan comes back out into the fray. Meanwhile, Scott Dixon continues to come around, and Dario Franchitti right behind.
You know, the one thing that's probably not been changed beside the drivers on this race car, because the car is new, the engines are new, are the Firestone Firehawk tires. And amazing that these tires have done such a great job under these conditions with these new cars. No problems so far, and it's giving the drivers a lot of confidence.
Guys, with Ryan Hunter-Reay peeling off, the top 6 positions are all Hondas. In qualifying, it was 9 out of 10 that were Chevrolet. Let's listen to Chip Ganassi's strategy with his team.
How are we comparing on MPG?
We're the same as Dario, maybe slightly better, but certainly on pace here.
Hey, Dixon's +2 on the mixture switch, getting better mileage.
All right, +2 on the mixture switch.
So what they have is a little switch for their fuel reading that tells them how much fuel they want to put in the engine. And obviously they have found the sweet point.
4-car J.R. Hildebrand, he is in. Rick.
J.R. Hildebrand having a very calm race. They had an issue in the first pit stop. They have a problem right now. Had a hard time getting the fuel nozzle out. But that very first pit stop put them behind. Dario Franchitti's car had spun in front of them. They had a very long pit stop. They've been working hard to overcome that ever since.
And he was shown in 16th spot as he came in. Right now, Chip Ganassi has got to be really feeling good. Not only does he have his 2 guys running first and second, but he has Charlie Kimball into 5th, and now Graham Rahal is going to peel off and head down pit road. But all of them were in the top 6 until this pit stop by Rahal. Here he comes. Vince?
Nice and easy.
4 tires and fuel for Graham Rahal. The Sunoco fuel, no other changes. They've encouraged him to use his weight jacker, but nothing significant enough to make a chassis change. It's a smooth stop for the 38. Doc?
Elio Castroneves said the car will not turn in traffic. Serious push, serious understeer. He said, it's bad by myself. It's even worse in traffic. I cannot get the car to turn. He's away.
And I guess the question is, did maybe striking that tire change something up there that's causing the car to push?
That's a possibility, but those Penske's never have really been as fast as the Ganassi cars during the race, have they? God, I mean, it looks like, you know what this is like? This is like exactly what we saw on Carb Day. Ganassi teams seem to have the right setup, the right fuel, and the right pace.
And in qualifying, you mentioned it was all Chevrolet and Penske, but now I would hasten to say that I don't want to count these guys for both winning. I mean, we've not seen much from Andretti's here in the last 10 laps or so, 15 laps or so. Remember, they're on a bit of a different strategy. We'll have to see if it's going to play out. Marco's now marched forward and is now back up the 6th spot. And you heard some of the lingo on those pit stops with the weight jacker. Now drivers have the opportunity inside the car to make some adjustments. One of them is what we call a weight jacker, a toggle switch on the steering wheel. They can move weight from the right front to the left front tire to help the car handle better.
But Marco had to go on the different strategy because the Honda teams were having such a better fuel efficiency than they were. It was forced. They were forced to make that decision.
It looked like Dario Franchitti was taking a peek towards maybe coming down pit lane, but no, not yet. Yes, he has. Franchitti has peeled off. He is coming down pit lane, so he is getting a little less fuel mileage than teammate Scott Dixon. So Franchitti's heading to you, Rick.
3, 2, 1.
Dario Franchitti has the car in. They're happy with it. They're not planning on any adjustments. Important to point out, there is no one in the pit stall ahead of him, very open. As a result, he's got a straight shot out. Hard to believe after that spin on pit road earlier in this race that they've not only recovered, but recovered to the point that they are a true contender.
That last lap that Dixon took is a very difficult lap because he wants to make sure he doesn't run out of fuel before he gets in, because he was in the same strategy that Franchitti was on.
And he gets one more lap as he heads your way, Vince Welch.
Scott Dixon led 73 laps a year ago and finished 5th. He's led 34 laps today, and he has looked real strong. They have not made a single change on any of his pit stops yet today. Looking for another perfect stop for this 9 team. Again, no chassis adjustments. Sunoco fuel, 4 Firestones. Rick.
And Justin Wilson was having a great race, and coming into the pits, it locked up on him, and he just eased up against the wall. Doesn't look like he actually hit the wall. They're not doing any repairs to the car as such, but they're putting the fuel in, getting him back out, but very frustrating. You can see Justin pounding on the wheel because what was a great race now has a mistake in it.
So a tough break for Justin Wilson as he comes back out onto the racetrack. Here's what Rick was talking about.
You can see he goes very close to the wall and actually gets the gun pinched against the wall with the hose. You'll see that the left front tire changer definitely had some difficulty getting that wheel on.
And he ran over a hose.
Got tire bits all over the racetrack there. Don't know whose tire that came off of. That is a pretty sizable chunk of rubber. That's Takuma Sato, as Sato is now your race leader. That's right. 7th different leader, our 18th lead change.
Is that the first time a Japanese driver has led the Indy 500?
We're going to have to check the record book, but I think you're absolutely right, Eddie.
No pit. Do not pit.
That was Sato's radio. They don't want him to pit yet. Now remember, Sato's last stop was on lap number 91. So right now, Takuma Sato is leading Marco Andretti by 5 seconds here at the Indianapolis 500. Our telecast presented by GoDaddy.com. You saw it on Side by Side. Ryan Hunter-Reay, he's called into the team and said something has given way in the back of the race car, and he is nursing the number 28 into pit lane. You also saw Marco Andretti. He ended up taking a pit stop, and Rubens Barrichello, folks, is your 8th different leader right now. Kanan is in. Vince.
No changes in the 11. He had to come earlier today because they thought they had a tire going down, but that wasn't the issue. He still battled his way back, and he's running toward the top 5.
James Hinchcliffe makes his stop as well. He comes back out onto the racetrack. And here comes Barrichello after leading a lap at Indianapolis. The 40-year-old who had his birthday just last Wednesday brings his car down pit lane. So far, he has done a very good job. And guys, he got 33 laps on his last tank of fuel.
I find that shocking.
There's the 28 team going to work at the rear of the car trying to diagnose the problem. But for Ryan Hunter-Reay, it does not look good. Jamie?
And he just pulled it into the pit box. Everybody was keeping their fingers crossed. It was something they can fix, but he just turned the car off. talking to Michael Andretti right now. We will get a word with Michael momentarily, Marty.
All right, thank you, Jamie. And there is Michael with a concerned look on his face. Let's go back on board.
I don't see anything here.
Oh, there it tells you. Remember, he said he was going along, and then something happened in the back. He was talking to his crew member.
That would have happened, what, another second later, and he was still going straight, just ready to turn into the corner.
P1, that's Dario and Dixon behind you for position.
Yeah, he just did my job for me, thank you very much, because Takuma Sato, after his pit stop, has the race lead, but right in his mirrors is Dario Franchitti, and not much farther back is the number 9, and that's Scott Dixon. All right, now this is where we're talking about the pressure. Sato knows he's got a two-time Indianapolis 500 champion behind him. He's always had this propensity to sort of push when he shouldn't, and it gets him in trouble.
Well, he has 74 laps to go, and a long way to go.
It is a long way to go, but I think what Marty's point is you cannot forget that, and I'm sure he's being reminded by Bobby Rahal, his team owner, on the radio. Settle into a pace. Do not push. Remember, we saw earlier in the race him have a little bit of an off run and get a little bit high, and you can see now Dario riding along with Dario Franchitti in his tired-up machine, looking forward to Takuma Sato. A little bit different of line here. Franchitti getting his wheel down below the white line, now running directly behind. Probably just happy to sit here, as you mentioned many times, Eddie, just to sit back and save fuel.
A very important person right now in this duel we have is Sato's spotter. He has to make sure he tells him where Franchitti is at the track the whole time when he's going around. You don't want to get a surprise pass at the last moment.
Dario has not led a lap today, but he's closing in on possibly taking and changing that stat. Getting back to your question about Japanese drivers leading, Tora Takagi led 2 laps, it's easy for me to say, back in 2003. Ryan Hunter-Reay is out of the race car. And Jamie is caught up with Michael Andretti.
And Ryan Hunter-Reay's car getting pushed back to the garage. Michael, what was the problem there?
Looks like something in the rear upright, right rear upright.
Hey, Ryan, early on you were complaining about a vibration, but was there any indication what happened there?
Yeah, I felt a different vibration coming in that time, and it felt like an engine vibration. It ended up being the CV joint in the back, with the drivetrain, so nothing you can do about that. The car was good. We were just waiting to trim out there a bit at the end and go for it, trying to save fuel. That's so disappointing.
Started on the front row today, Marty, and you can bet they're going to relay that information to his teammates who are on the track.
Last year he did not qualify for the race. As you mentioned, started on the front row. The last time that happened, the guy to my right, Scott Goodyear, back in 1994 and 95. We've got to step aside for a moment as the race continues here at Indianapolis. There's your top 5. This is a word coming your way from your ABC station. What a beautiful view of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This is sacred ground for motorsports racing, and our Helicam coverage today's race brought to you by GoDaddy.com. All right, let's talk a little bit of strategy now on the top 5. Let's go up to speed. Let's check in first with Rick DeBrule.
Well, I can tell you right now, the country of Japan celebrating when Bobby Rahal came on the radio and told Takuma Sato, congratulations, you're leading the Indy 500. Well, that's the good news. The down problem right now is that he is out front. They've had to go to a fuel mixture that's burning a little more fuel to stay out front. Now, behind him, the reason they have to do that is Dario Franchitti, burning a little bit less fuel as a result. But they're so far very happy with everything, and you've heard from Chip Ganassi. He's ecstatic about the way things are going, and he thinks he's on the right strategy. Jamie?
Well, Marco Andretti just behind him in the 26, started this race fourth. He's led 59 laps today. The car has been pretty good, but as you can imagine, he is frustrated by this fuel situation with the Ganassi cars. They keep telling Marco, keep saving. You're doing great. Keep it up. Vince?
It's been a great day for Scott Dixon. He started 15th, the deepest he's ever started here at Indianapolis. He's led 34 laps and currently running in the top 5. Their fuel mileage has been outstanding. He can go to lap 151. Graham Rahal is right behind him in the next spot, and Rahal running 5th. In fact, there are 4 Ganassi cars in the top 7 for Rahal running smoothly. They've got 2 more stops to go, but right now, real happy with their race car, Marty.
And quickly rounding out the top 10, it's J.R. Hildebrand, Charlie Kimball, Townsend Bell has poked his way into the top 10, Elio Castroneves, and Justin Wilson. Let's take a look at our Firestone lap leaders, as it has been a bundle today. A total of 8 different leaders. We've had 20 lead changes. If you're asking about the records, well, the most lead changes, 29 back in 1960. The most leaders, 12 back in 1993. Marco Andretti's led the most, but he's playing catch-up right now to that man, Takuma Sato, with 64 to go at Indy. You're looking at the race leader at the Indianapolis 500. 140 laps completed, 60 to go. That is Takuma Sato from Japan. No man from Japan has ever won this race. A couple of our armed forces in attendance today, and the 500 is being broadcast live to 175 countries and territories around the world, seen by over 800,000 U.S. servicemen and women and their families, live through the American Forces Network. Ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for your service and are remembering all of you on Memorial Day weekend. You saw the cycle there on Takuma Sato. Now, in second place is Dario Franchitti, 1.4 seconds back. Marco Andretti has moved into the 3rd spot, but he is another 3 seconds back. But Scott Dixon is close behind him in 4th. Let's get an update on Marco, Jamie Little.
Well, we've been talking about crew members. One of his crew members, the tire guy who doesn't even go over the wall, Rick Stevenson, was carted off. Meanwhile, Marco on the radio, very frustrated. He's having issues inside his race car.
Man, we are killing this right here. Okay, you're doing fine, though. Just hang in there. We're about halfway through this stint. You got plenty of tools that you need to protect it a little.
There's so much vibration.
Copy that.
Now, you heard the key word there, vibration. Remember, we just talked to Ryan Hunter-Reay, his teammate who was out of the race, who said he, too, had a different kind of vibration. They're keeping an eye on the 26.
Well, and that's the worrisome thing, because once something happens within a team, you wonder if you might be next, because the way that the team builds the parts to put on the car, Eddie, you know, it could be just that the tires picked up some rubber, and in turn, it's actually going to go away once you put a new fresh set of Firestone Firehawks on it, or he is developing the same problem that Ryan Hunter-Reay had with the drive shaft, with the CV joint, the constant velocity joint, and it's now just starting to deteriorate.
And it's not just a question of the teams.
Do you think
this
you're
is
on
the
cord
first
on the
time.
right rear? Is it cord?
Oh my God, yes!
That's not a happy camper.
On the left side, it's Graham Rahal as he's making a pit stop here, working lap number 144. Vince.
Oh, he doesn't like it at all. They're really having some right rear issues today. They're going to put a half-turn front wing in it. He said it's almost undrivable. They've repeated it throughout the course of the day. Some issues with that right rear.
So it's not just one group of cars. It seems like we're seeing it recurring. And we can tell you that Marco Andretti has peeled off, and he is coming down pit lane. Jamie, you're there, and keep an eye on that right rear.
Well, it's hard to gauge just how bad things are. Marco is always very passionate and very spirited on the radio, so he is very relieved to pit right now. Get rid of these tires. The team will be taking a look. I'm looking at the right rear. I don't see any hoarding or anything too bad, so they will look at that, and they'll know if it's the tire or if it was something internal.
No, Eddie, I didn't see anything wrong with that tire. It certainly wasn't down to the cords, because Firestone builds a great tire here. He'll get the answer here very quickly.
Still should be one more stop,
We can also tell you J.R. Hildebrand, Townsend Bell have made pit stops, and that's Sebastian Saavedra as he is slow on the warm-up lane, and wow, that could have been a little dicey as Marco comes around.
It's the second time Marco's had a problem on the warm-up lane.
Yellow's out. And the yellow has come out because Sebastian Saavedra is definitely in a bad spot, and this is where your spotter better help you. All right, get ready, because it's going to be a frenzy on pit lane, because we have 55 laps to go. They're the crews. Boy, they have got to be steaming in those fire suits. Stay with us. We're coming back. Our presentation presented by GoDaddy.com.
Right now, this lap, make sure you're getting.
Our fourth caution, and like we told you, was going to get a little hectic on pit lane. Takuma Sato, Franchitti, Dixon, the top three are stopping. Here we go. Let's check in with Rick.
Takuma Sato brings it in, complaining a little bit of understeer. They say they were going to put in a little bit of front wing. You see it right there. Meanwhile, you got Dario Franchitti who's coming in. Now this puts him on the same strategy and same lockstep. No adjustment to the car, just getting all the Sunoco fuel in, and he's out. Vince?
Stop for the 9 car as well. They fill it full of fuel, and off goes Scott Dixon. It's been a strong day for this group in the pits today.
There you see the service on James Hinchcliffe's car as he is finally serviced and back out. Other cars that are going on through. We'll sort out how everybody shapes up as we get ready for the restart here at Indianapolis, as we have a total right now of about 12 cars shown on the lead lap. We're going to go side by side. When we came in, it was Takuma Sato in front.
ESPN's coverage of the Indianapolis 500 on ABC, presented by GoDaddy.com. Domains, websites, and everything in between. And Prudential. See what the first day of retirement feels like at day1stories.com. Prudential. Bring your challenges.
We are under our fourth caution here at the Indianapolis 500. We are almost to the three-quarter mark. We've knocked down 149 of 200 laps. The top three, Takuma Sato in that blue and white, number 15. Right behind him, two-time winner, Dario Franchitti. And right behind Dario, the number 9. And a winner here at Indianapolis back in 2008, that is Scott Dixon. Now, Roger Penske's got to be a little bit concerned because we thought that his team was going to be a major factor today. Right now, Ryan Briscoe is 7th. Elio Castroneves is 9th. And about the last 70 laps, they have not been sniffing at the front. Marco Andretti topped off on fuel. We heard them talk about the fact they were not getting as good a fuel economy as the Honda of Ganassi. Now let's go check in on Will Power. Doc, he went out early here.
Yeah, you mentioned, Marty, a very tough day for the captain, Roger Penske, and his lead driver in terms of the guy leading the point standings coming into this race. Will Power involved in a grinding crash with Mike Conway. Will Power was checked out at the infield care center, told that he was physically okay. And the team tells me that Power was hot. He was very, very angry that Conway was back on the racetrack with a broken wing. But the drivers are okay. Roger now focused on 2 cars, the 2 and the 3. Marty?
Power had a problem last year in the pits, ended up 14th. This year he is shown right now in 28th position. Stay with us. We'll go back to Green Flag Racing here at Indianapolis. You can see that is Paul Blevins, the starter, and telling everybody 1 lap to green. It'll be another single file restart. Let's set it for you as we are now in. We always talk about it, guys. Get to the last 50 laps, and we're down to 49 to go. And there is Sato, Franchitti, Dixon. That is your top 3. Now, Marco Andretti topped off his fuel. He is back in 16th position. Listen to the radio.
Oh my God, I've been screaming for it 3 times on the back straightaway. If we had the downforce now, I wouldn't count us out of it. Now it's going to take too long. It is loose. I wouldn't pit because I'm bored.
What do you need here? Do you need total downforce or you lose too much?
I think total. I don't want to take front now. We got to add rear. And bias it a little rearward.
And I think what he's calling, Eddie, is because they topped off of fuel, he's now back further in the queue. He needs more grip, more downforce to get past the cars in front. Because when you run behind the cars that are in front of you, it's just difficult, just really difficult to be able to pass the cars. You see the frustration right now for Marco beating on the steering wheel. He knows that this is going to be a hard run for him as we're coming out to the start.
And remember, lap vehicles don't go to the rear until the final 20 laps. So even though he's in 16th, he's got a long way to go to get to the front. Here comes Takuma Sato, leading him down on the restart. Behind him, it's a long jam. Whoa! 4 cars at one point almost got into each other.
Scott, at this point, I think all that fuel strategy stuff after this last yellow goes out the window because everybody's got to stop one more time.
I think you're right.
So now it's just full power and pedal to the floor.
Your only decision may be whether you take tires or gamble and just do fuel only. Here we go, change for the race lead. And it is Dario Franchitti moving in front.
That didn't take long.
Didn't take long. Remember when he was in 28th position? He had to fight his way back. It's the first time he's led today. And the 2-time champion wants number 3.
And here comes Dixon. And he's not going to wait around either.
Goes underneath, heading into turn number 1. And target Chip Ganassi is now 1-2 on the racetrack. Behind Sato, it is Hinchcliffe, and Justin Wilson is back in that 5th position. Wilson giving that car one heck of a ride.
And I think Hinch is on the move also because he had a great restart. Can he make the slipstream work here right now?
Not
Justin
on this one.
Wilson's coming up from behind also in the Sunny Barbecue machine in that red and white car that's just right behind Hinchcliffe, who's driving the GoDaddy green car.
Wilson's best finish was 2 years ago. He came home in 7th, 15th, or should say 16th in last year's race. This could be his best run ever in the 500. On board with James Hinchcliffe.
Remember, we talked about getting off the throttle, see how the momentum slows down. It's the timing now. He has to time it. He won't have a run here going down the backstretch, going into 3. Hopefully, he might be able to time it well enough to be able to do it down the front stretch. He's probably going to get passed here, and he will, by Justin Wilson because he eased off the throttle, and timing is a huge issue here, Eddie.
And what you really want to be careful when you're the car that's being passed, don't allow them to put you in the gray going in because there is no grip up there. We've seen that lap, race after race. Towards the end of the race, somebody will make a mistake, get half a foot up, and you're into the wall.
On board with Tony Kanaan. He's going over underneath Hinchcliffe. So move Kanaan into 5th. And Hinchcliffe going in the wrong direction.
And Kanaan is not somebody I'd want to have behind me on those last 40 laps because he's coming.
Another guy that's had a great race today, Charlie Kimball, back in 8th position. Let's go on board for the restart with the number 83.
Inside, inside, outside, inside, outside.
That was the move we saw from the aerial shot, and we didn't realize it was Tony Kanaan that made a really slick move there.
I always say Tony is, pardon me, excuse me, coming through. That's the way he does every restart.
But to put that in perspective, they're going 180 miles an hour. That's not something, that's difficult at 60 miles an hour.
It's settled down at least for the moment. There's the best battle we've got going as here comes Hinchcliffe back underneath Tony Kanaan. So Kanaan sort of looked like he signaled.
He did. He said, go ahead. You're much better off working with somebody than trying to block them, because if you block them at this point, you could lose that draft of the cars that are ahead of you. You have to leapfrog one with the other.
The top 4 are Hondas. Then it's Hinchcliffe in 5th with a Chevrolet and 2 others behind him. Jamie, what are you hearing about Hinchcliffe?
Well, James Hinchcliffe all day long struggling on the restarts, saying he's hitting the rev limiter, so it takes him a couple laps to get back in and get settled. That's what happened here. He's saying the balance of the car is good. Last round of stops, no changes. He did tell me before the race the importance of this last 50 laps. It's all out right now, Marty.
And as the guys pointed out, don't have to worry about saving fuel. Everybody's got to make one stop. So this is really put the pedal to the metal. 42 laps to go. Dario Franchitti right in front of Scott Dixon. Right now, I'm sure they're willing to just work together to get to the last stretch when they get that last pit stop. Now, Dario looking for his 3rd. What would it mean to him?
I remember that feeling of wanting so badly to win that first one. And then the second one was you want that second. And now I really want the 3rd. So
And he may just get it today. How about Takuma Sato, still driving a great race. He is shown in 3rd position. And don't forget, his team owner, Bobby Rahal, David Letterman, well, they won the race in 2004 with Buddy Rice at the wheel. Here we go, pass for the lead. I thought that Dixon might just stay there for a while, but now they're switching spots.
I thought Kumasato might have slipped back a little bit because he was doing quite a few laps up there by himself, and when he got passed by 2 cars, that can be demoralizing. But he is bringing the fight right back to the target cars.
He's definitely maintaining the pace. He's right there with them. It's a little bit further back to Justin Wilson, James Hinchcliffe, and Tony Kanaan. That's your top 6. And there, the aerial view gives you a good view of the top 5.
Only 41 more laps to go.
Heading down the front straightaway. We've had 9 different leaders, and we may get another lead change. This will be number 25. So Franchitti goes back to the top spot. We are closing in on the all-time record for lead changes. These guys have delivered in this brand new DW12. Don't go anywhere because we have 40 exciting laps at this year's Indianapolis 500. You see the dash lighting up, yellow flag. Unfortunately, Joseph Newgarden doesn't want to see it because it's his car that caused the caution. He basically, during the break, said the motor just quit and he has lost power and did not make it back. So we are under our 5th caution of the day here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And now we have 36 laps to go. Apparently just outside the window, unless you are willing to gamble. What do you think?
I think it's too big of a gamble at this point, but we'll see. I think some teams that have more than 1 bullet on this lead lap will probably go in different ways, but I think that window is just too big.
Pits are not open right now. Let's take a look at our Firestone lap leaders because we've had 9 different leaders, 26 lead changes. We are just 3 away from tying the record. Marco Andretti has led the most laps, although he's back in 15th place right now. He led 59, most of those early in the race. Scott Dixon, Takuma Sato round out the top 3 in that category.
Now thinking of this, yellow takes a couple of laps here. 30 laps per tank, Eddie, so you need to be at lap 170. Can you save enough fuel, or will you run out a lap or 2 from the end?
Let's get the strategy on the 9 car. How about it, Vince?
My call, we heard that Utah said lap 170. Pits are just open. Pits are opening and they're coming. We'll catch up with Mike after the stop.
He looks a little bit busy.
Yeah, they've got a major decision to make. And once these stops are decided upon and what they're going to do, and it looks like the 10 car is set out, that they are going to come. The question will be, do you lean the engine back and try and stretch it to the finish, or do you go?
Or do you have one driver do one thing and another do another?
Yeah, but who makes that decision?
Yeah.
Which way do you
His
want to
name
go?
is Chip Ganassi.
Yeah, I think I'd be coming in and hoping that you can maybe catch another yellow for a lap or 2.
Well, Team Penske also will have to make that decision. They have 2 cars still in the race, Briscoe and Castroneves. They are 9th and 10th right now. All right, here they all come. Let's go to Rick DeBrule.
Well, Takuma Sato's going to bring the car down. Last year, it came into a fuel strategy for this team. They almost were in it to the end. They're thinking they're going to gamble with it again. He comes in. They're going to make a slight wing adjustment as well. They're actually adjusting both the front and the rear wing. Dario Franchitti brings in. He's very happy with the car. Vince.
Can't have a mistake now. They were 5 laps short on the 9 car of Scott Dixon to make it to the end. It's another clean scalp. Jamie.
And James Hinchcliffe been taking downforce out. They will fill it up, going to try to help him on the restarts here. That has not been his forte.
over the hose on the way in. That's what slowed it down, and it'll be up to IndyCar as to what will happen there, and we will check back on that as we're going to step aside for a break here. We'll reset everything for you as we have 34 to go here at the 500.
No, yeah, that would be good. Let me see Chip. Welcome back to Indianapolis. 33 laps to go, and Chip Ganassi is right where he wants to be. His two drivers, Dixon and Franchitti, running 1-2. Now, you know, when they qualified, Ganassi with his Honda engines was not that quick, but on carburation day, they were lightning quick. They were the best. And yesterday, when people were working over in the garage area on all the cars, they had them torn apart. They were replacing it. In the Ganassi garage, it was nothing but quiet. They were locked down. And let's go down now for more from Rick DeBrule.
Well, let me put it this way. It has not been an uneventful day for Dario Franchitti. He had that little spin on pit lane to start with, and then later they had a problem with the vibration of the tire. Fortunately, they were able to change it without any incidents on the track. Now the car is sailing along.
And Rick, while it's been somewhat eventful for Dario, it's been uneventful for Dixon, at least in regards to changing the car. They've not touched it all day long. And the guys, maybe the unsung heroes, if Scott Dixon should win his second Indy 500 today, his pit crew, they have been rock stars. That last stop, 7.7, Brent.
Well, Vince, as you know, at Indianapolis, even though we're moving the trophy back toward Chip Ganassi, there is one thing to keep in mind about the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You can never, ever give up.
Since 1911, the world around the Speedway has changed. But inside its cruel walls, the most basic truths remain the same. Every lap matters. Every turn matters. From the first to the 800th. One lapse, one bobble, one ill-timed blink of the eye. It's the difference between immortality and irrelevance.
Back here under the caution, and guys, we are going to be coming up on 30 laps to go. We already know the Hondas can go that distance. Earlier in the week, Roger Penske said if we can lean the motor, we can go as far as 32 to 35, depending on how far they lean it. How do you play this? It looks like it's going to be a good old-fashioned shootout from this point.
That's the perfect word to use right here. This is a shootout, and I think it's going to be some of the most amazing 30 laps we have seen at Indy in a long time.
And there's no reason for the Chevrolets to lean the engine out, because when you do that, you lose horsepower, because we know that they can go 30 laps running rich. So to your point, Eddie, this is put your foot on the gas, and this pretty soon will be teammates, will no longer be teammates.
Maybe they will be up to the last 3 laps. But whoever's around you, you're going for it.
Well, they pitted on lap 166, and remember, you get 2 laps for every 1 under green versus under caution. All right. There have been a lot of things happening on pit road today, and here is one where James Hinchcliffe slides over the air hose, forcing him to back up. And on this last round of stops, Graham Rahal had a problem, guys.
He hit a gun.
Oh, and it was inside the box. So we're waiting for word from IndyCar as to possible penalties.
And those rules are very clear. They're not very ambiguous.
All right, pace car, as you can see, coming through and getting ready to make the turn into turn number 4. It is Dixon, Franchitti, Sato, Justin Wilson 4th. Charlie Kimball is in 5th. Tony Kanaan 6th. Ed Carpenter has moved up into the 7th spot. Briscoe, Barrichello in 9th. Elio Castroneves rounds out your top 10. We're going to have 29 to go. This time by, load your guns, fire your bullets. The race is really on. 3 wide.
Wilson takes him for 3rd.
Justin Wilson gets around Sato. On board with Hinchcliffe through 2. Down the backstretch, first 6 are nice and straight. Here comes Hinchcliffe looking to get under Barrichello. Going for the lead. Franchitti takes it.
And I think Wilson's going to take 2nd now.
Sato right on the back end of the 18 as well. Sato's going to take a peek.
And he shuts him down.
Tony Kanaan also in that mix. Guys up front don't know what they're missing behind them.
They're happy not to be behind him.
And put Carpenter in that mix also. Remember, he won the last oval race last year when he was driving for Sarah Fisher. He's won here in the Indy Lights Series and the Freedom 100. As you mentioned, Eddie, this is flat-out racing as hard as you can go.
But you gotta save something for those last 5 or 3 or 4 laps or whatever it is. You don't want to take too big of a risk here, but you can't lose any track position. And here comes Ed Carpenter.
Okay. There seems to be one car pulling into pit lane. We'll get that for you as soon as we can. But as this continues, there goes Sato back into 3rd. He gets under Justin Wilson.
Yeah, and Wilson's going to lose out on this one.
Oh, he's losing 2 more spots. As
he's up high. He's up high.
So Tony Kanaan got around him in the 11 car. There he is, and also Ed Carpenter. Here we go for the battle for the lead. It looks like nobody wants to lead because they still may be thinking about fuel.
We're going to work on a fuel number for you, and we'll give you the number for no more yellow, and that's all we can do. If there's yellow, then obviously we can back it up.
Yeah, I'm saying the fight is nobody's going to want to lead.
Well, we hope that's the case.
Like you said, nobody wants to lead.
It's because they all feel like they're going to be a sitting duck on the, and if there is a restart, and we've seen how many times you can suck up in the draft and just whip around.
But it's very hard to interpret what they're saying, but it sounded to me like they were not 100% confident they got enough fuel to go full power.
I wondered about that because track position is so important. Did they fill the tank completely?
28 official lead changes today, 1 off the mark back in 1960.
And look who's 4th right now and looking to get past Sato.
And he's in a hurry. You've got to line him up the right way, then you can't come out too early.
Didn't time that right, did he?
Vince, what are you hearing on Ganassi's fuel situation?
Dario Franchitti and Scott Dixon are both running the same fuel setting, and Mike Hall, who handles the strategy for Dixon, just told Dixon, he said, Dario is on the same strategy. We've got to make 4.4, but he just told him that gives us a little bit of cushion to the end. Remember, they've been targeting 4.1. Now he needs 4.4 to finish.
We thought they could make 30, and we went back at 170. This is going to be interesting.
Well, they hit it on 166. Maybe they're not getting the fuel savings under yellow that we thought and were told last week.
But I think you can be another lap change.
So we've got all this action going up front. You've got Franchitti holding on to the top spot. There's Dixon right there in 2nd. Sato is in 3rd. What a great view. Carpenter on 4th place.
4.3 on your dash. 4.3 on your dash.
And you heard him. 4.3 on the dash. Sato's fuel mileage. Let's get an update from Rick DeBrule.
Well, the team not only thinks they can do it, they're pretty confident about it. But the key is he's got to stay there. He can't be trying to dice it out with the 2 cars ahead of him. So what they've done is basically given him instructions. Sit there, bide your time, wait, and then make your move. Don't make your move too soon, although, as you can see, he's under attack by Ed Carpenter.
He's not only under attack, he's now moved back to 4th spot. Ed Carpenter. Remember, this is a backup car. They trashed the first one in qualifying last weekend, and he has really come to life here in the second half of this race.
And it's a Chevy.
Right now it is 2 Hondas, then Carpenter Chevy, then 2 more Hondas with Wilson and Sato, then Kanaan Chevy in 6th.
And if we go with what we've learned so far, the Honda seems to be better on fuel, but maybe now in this full race setting, maybe the Chevy will have something different.
Here we go again. We just tied the mark. Will we break it? Yes. 30 lead changes. A new record here at the Indianapolis 500. Dixon back out in front.
And as you were doing that, Wilson was having a look at Carpenter, and I think he maneuvered that pass also. He did not get that done.
So there is Justin Wilson in 3rd. Carpenter in 4th. Sato is 5th. Kanaan is shown in 6th. What's been amazing about this race, if you have just tuned in late, no lead has been bigger than about 4.5 to 5 seconds at any stretch during the day. This is what we've had with this brand new DW12.
But what we do know for sure is that the lead car uses more fuel. The 2 target teams, the 2 target drivers, are leapfrogging each other, and they're working as a team.
Remember, we're talking about the fuel mileage. We don't know if it's going to be Honda or Chevrolet that's going to be able to make it to the end. We thought both of them could when we came back to green, but we're hearing from the teams right now they need to make some fuel numbers, and because everything is brand new, as we see Sato right now having a look on the inside of Carpenter, and he gets that pass completed, Eddie, we're just going to have to find out in the last 2 or 3 laps here are going to be a nail biter.
And Wilson is all over Dixon.
Oof. 1 car awfully close to the wall there.
Here we go. 20 laps to go.
20 laps to go.
And you got the powerhouse team of Target Chip Ganassi.
Oh, look out! Carpenter spins. Can he save it? And look out! He's right in the middle of the track.
Turn 2. I'll be behind him.
Everybody gets by.
Well, we don't have any fuel mileage problems, guys.
No, not anymore.
We're going racing.
Tough break for Ed Carpenter, though. He had really fought back to get back into this race.
He's asking to turn him around. He wants to get back in.
Yeah, he wants to get started, but you saw him release his foot off the brakes as he got close to the wall to stop the car from hitting the wall. Very, very astute move from his part.
He's going to have to come in for tires, though. There is no way he could go back on the track after those spin.
Absolutely.
After that spin.
All right, let's show you what happened to Ed Carpenter.
You see he's way down below the line. 5th car in your frame, gets on that white line, and oh, I think he did just kiss the wall there, Eddie, just on the exit.
Yep.
Very close to getting hit, and boy, when that's happening, you got cars coming towards you, all you can do is just sort of hold on, close your eyes, and
that started with that white line, Scott. And he can't look at that. You can't have 1/100 of a thousandth of an inch between the car and the wall there.
He may or may not have. I think he got away
just
with just the tire, maybe.
No, he didn't.
I think he missed it. Oh, he needs to go out and buy a lottery ticket.
He just had a lottery ticket.
That's true.
So a tough spin, but we saw this throughout the month. Brian Clausen's crash during pole weekend. He touched that white line, and boy, it just got the car so squirrely.
But when you start doing that, when your car is maybe not working as well as it did before, so you now start to try and cut the corner a little bit to make the car maneuver through, Eddie, and I know you know how that works. He just didn't get away with it.
No, but like they say, on the last 20 laps, you throw all your caution to the wind and you try everything you possibly can. I have no idea what his setup was, but you were right. He probably had a little bit of push in the car, and he was trying to keep that momentum, because with these smaller turbo engines, if you take your foot out of the throttle, it takes you a whole lap to get back up to speed again. You think he's busy here?
He just wants to look to the right to see what's coming.
Let's go on board with Tony Kanaan, give you the view from his perspective.
Remember?
Is that moment where you guys are saying, oh, which way do I go?
You actually don't think in those moments, because it happens too quickly. Your brain just takes over, and before you know it, you either made it through the accident or you haven't.
racing again at Indianapolis.
Kanaan is going to get it. Kanaan is going to get it. He's in the lead.
Tony Kanaan comes all the way from about 6th starting position to take the lead.
Do you think he's a good restarter?
Now the question is, can he hold on to it? What we've seen so far today, the answer is going to be no. But at least now he's in the mix.
Oh, you wait for this cheer when he comes down the front stretch here. This place is going to come alive.
Listen, what an exceptional restart.
Right behind him is Dario Franchitti. They are close friends.
He's not going to be able to hold it. He's not going to be able to hold it.
Here comes Dario. The gloves are off. This time by 15 laps to go.
All clear, all clear.
Coming into the mix as well is Ryan Briscoe. He's in 3rd right now. Dixon is 4th. Wilson is back in 5th.
And Eddie, you and I talked about just when we were away at commercial one time whether the 2 target cars had the right amount of downforce to be up front, and wondered whether or not Tony had maybe just a bit too much. We'll wait and see. Sato to the inside.
Yeah, that was Sato getting around Justin Wilson. So Justin's slid back several spots. He restarted 3rd and has now been bumped back to the 6th position. Here comes Dixon taking a look underneath Briscoe. Briscoe takes a defensive line. He's trying to get around 2nd place, Tony Kanaan.
So there's a little bit of a bottleneck behind Franchitti. Not could play to his advantage.
Well, and I think right now that's because Kanaan, who slowed them up a little bit going into 1. Now look at these guys here.
There comes Dixon.
4th and 5th, and Dixon's going to go on the inside. He knows he's got to get up front and start to chase down Franchitti.
And you heard Briscoe had to breathe the throttle going into 3 as well.
But everybody's showing a lot of discipline. Stay off the gray.
That's Justin Wilson as he goes under Takuma Sato. The action that we have seen today in this 500, as there goes Tony Kanaan, back for the race lead. Listen to the crowd. Oh, what a popular win it would be for Kanaan.
Yellow, turn 1, turn 1.
Yellow crash in turn 1. It is Marco Andretti. The curse continues.
He was moving up. He had moved himself up to 8th. He felt like he had a race car that could win. His confidence had never been higher. Look at the look on Grandpa's face. You heard him say, give him a minute. Hey, Marty, I think he did have a race car to win today. Circumstances got him in the wrong place, and he just can't get through the group to get himself back up to the front.
Mario won this race back in 1969. Since then, no Andretti has ever made it back to victory lane. And it will not happen again today.
I'm liking Kanaan, just like what you said.
Well, Tony has made no secret about it. You know, he and Dario were very, very close to Dan Weldon. And he looks at the Borg Warner trophy and he said, I want my face right next to Dan Weldon and alongside of Dario Franchitti. All right, let's go back and show you what happened to Marco.
Now we're going to watch Marco here just on the bottom side of your screen go in through turn 1 and trying to make a move. And as he does that, we saw the same thing with Ed Carpenter. Gets those inside wheels on the white line, loses the grip. He knows he's lost it. He locks the wheels up and impacts the safer barrier on the right-hand side. Just trying to drive himself too quickly, too fast to get up towards the front because he knew it was go time, Eddie.
That white line has caught everybody out that's been on it today.
It has become no man's land.
That was a very hard impact, too, especially on the side like that. And you see Marco is okay, but he's getting out very slowly. You can see it's all wrong by the time he's got to the center of the turn. Did hit the safer barrier.
Let's go on board with Marco. This is in slow motion.
You know what was amazing with that slow-mo? Did you see how he had the calmness once it got sideways and he corrected? And a good 30 yards before he got to the wall, his foot was hard on the brakes.
Now watch his hands here.
And then once he knows he's going to hit the wall, his hands will come off the wheel so he doesn't get his hands caught in the wheel when the wheel then turns around and hits and impacts the wall.
All right, Marco is out of the car. He'll make the mandatory trip to the infield care center. And right now we've got 11 laps to go. Our 7th caution here at Indianapolis. It is going to be one heck of a shootout. Don't leave us.
For more than a decade, Brazilian Tony Kanaan has been a major contender at the Indianapolis 500. He's even sat on the pole, but he has never, ever taken the checkered flag. And he is a man who has come to this race with a mission and a favorite number.
It's my 11th Indy 500. 11 is my lucky number. I'll put my face next to my 2 best friends, because it'll be Dario, Dan, and myself. So you guys can tell I've been thinking about it.
He would be such a popular champion, but we still have 9 laps to go, Marty. And as we have seen over the last few years, anything can happen, even on the final lap. This is the Indy 500.
And there you see the crowd, many of them on their feet. They have been in this sweltering heat that's gone into the 90s. And it is going to be one heck of a shootout. Next time by, we're still under caution. There's 8 laps to go, so at best we could be going green with 7 to go. And the captain is deep in thought. He's got a guy riding in 4th place. He needs to pick up on that man right there. He's got his 2 cars, 2nd and 3rd, and they're all chasing Tony Kanaan. Still under our 7th caution here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Next time by, we'll have 6 laps remaining. Tony Kanaan, Dario Franchitti running 1st and 2nd. They are the best of friends. Here is what we picked up on the radio. First, the 11 car.
All right, still Dodger, we're playing like old timers. And we're playing at the end. Copy. Got a message from Kanaan. Those guys are going to play like old times. Of course.
Here we go, back to green flag racing. On board with James Hinchcliffe. 2 wide. And it is Dario Franchitti that gets out in front. They're still 2 wide going through 2. That's Rubens Barrichello on board.
And Eddie, we talked about the leader as a sitting duck, and that's certainly what happened to Tony Kanaan.
I don't know. At some point, you have to make a decision whether it's good to be in front. Oh, that was close. Or it's better to be 2nd or 3rd.
That is Ryan Briscoe trying to make his way around. There is Kanaan running in 3rd, and he is under attack from Takuma Sato. And here's the battle for the race lead as the 2 Target Ganassi cars go after each other and put the 50 up front.
Now, these 2 guys are teammates for the moment, but they won't be teammates that last lap.
It's Dixon, then Franchitti, then Takuma Sato, and Tony Kanaan is now back to 4th. 5 laps remaining here at Indianapolis.
Foot is down, no lifting whatsoever, clicking off laps as fast as you can go.
And the 2 Target Ganassi cars are trying to pull away from the field. Coming down the front straightaway.
4 to go.
You heard it. 4 laps to go.
Clean pass.
Outside, clear.
All right, I want to set this up. Where do you want to be? At what lap do you make your move? Do you want to be leading, or do you want to be the 2nd place car?
With the way they're flipping back and forth here right now, who knows who's going to lead on the very last lap, but I think I want to be 2nd, probably going into turn 3, Eddie.
It really depends on who's running 3rd at this point. I think if the 2 Ganassi cars keep playing nice with each other up to the end, they're guarding the position. So maybe, like you said, you'd be better off if you're leading that last lap. Now he's going to pass him again, and it's a clean pass.
And does he get him by the stripe? Yes, he does. So it can be done.
That sure is
All clear, all clear.
It was close.
Well, he wasn't defending that time, Marty. I can assure you, when you're coming out of 4, you're going to be moving around the racetrack.
And you can move a little bit, maybe in turn 3. You can move a little bit coming off of 4.
Takuma Sato trying to get up closer.
Now Franchitti's got a problem with Sato, and he's guarding the position.
Now will he try and go for the pass? This time by, there will be 2 laps remaining.
Sato's car, I don't think has his nudge downforce because he certainly seems to slide mid-turn.
I think he's got
going down the straight.
Now 2.
You heard the call. Here comes Dario. And Sato may try and come with him. Look out. This could get tricky. Oh, and he slides on by. Sato takes second.
Forward to Sato.
And Kanaan is going to make a run on him now.
So Franchitti out in front. Takuma Sato in second. There's Dixon. And then Tony Kanaan. On board with Tony. If he wants a shot, he's got to get some help up front. He's too far back right now. Next time by, the white flag.
I think Sato's in the capper position now.
Time it right. You have to time it right. Everybody standing, listen to the crowd.
White flag is out. Dario Franchitti takes the defensive line into one. Sato taking a peek.
Inside. Keep going. Keep going, buddy. Yellow.
The yellow is out.
Should have waited till coming out of 2. We talked about that.
We talked about his patience. And for the 3rd time in his career, Dario Franchitti is going to win the 500, and all 3 times it's going to be under caution.
This is a race where you cannot make a mistake. That was very hard. Sato was close, but I think he got on that white line again.
He did.
Tony Kanaan is going to finish 3rd. Remember, results are not official. We'll get word from IndyCar. But right now, here they come down the front straightaway. And Dario Franchitti is going to join an elite group as he is going to become a 3-time winner at Indianapolis.
What a race. What a race.
You are the man. Awesome job, champ. Way to go.
Congratulations, 3-time winner.
We know she can count to 3. She just proved it.
That was amazing.
Word from IndyCar officials, yes, it is Dario Franchitti's race.
And he came all the way from the back to all the way in the front, and he withstood that big attack from Sato on the last lap.
From 28th all the way to win the race, Dario Franchitti again stamps his name in the record book in open wheel racing. And here at Indianapolis.
You got your face next to now.
Takuma Sato climbing out of the car. And Scott, you hit the nail on the head. He just needed to be a little more patient going into that corner.
I thought down the front stretch he was playing it right. He was setting him up to come out of turn 1 and 2 and go down the back stretch, but just a little too eager. But as a race driver, boy, you were anxious. You see, when Franchitti started to go low, I thought he'll just pull up and stay there. But he gets in there and he starts to force the movement into there.
White line.
And Dario stuck. Eddie, Dario stuck on the outside, which was amazing because he was out in the gray area.
Let's check in with Rick DeBrule.
Down here with Ashley Judd. Ashley, congratulations. The first thing we saw was you count to 3 with your fingers.
Oh my gosh, 3. That is just such an extraordinary achievement. What he did today was awesome.
We're going to hear from Dario in a moment to what it means to him. But I want you to tell me what you think he's going to be thinking right now. What's going through his mind?
What I think it means is that Marina and George Franchitti raised one hell of a racing driver, and Sir Jackie Stewart brought him up right. Jim Clark is looking down on him, and so is Michael Wanzer, and I am so proud of him. And I said to him today, when he got in the car, I will see you in the winner's circle. I knew it. I knew it. Did you see him go from 25th to 3rd on a single green flag run? I don't think anybody's ever done that before. He's a legend.
Dario Franchitti's wife couldn't be prouder. Let's talk to Chip. He just came in himself. Let's talk about how in that first pit stop you had to have doubts.
We were dead last, Rick. We were dead last at the first stop. After the first stop, we were 33rd. 33rd after the first stop.
And then?
Came back to the lead.
All right, not a lot of adjustments. He seemed to be pretty happy with the car all day. There was a minor problem with vibration.
Yeah, no, minor things all day with the car. Nothing really, tires and fuel.
Congratulations.
He goes, oh, the tires are going up, the tires are going up. And then they look at him and they say, the tires are fine. He's just so tuned in. Thank you all.
Congratulations to Ashley and Chip. What a victory.
It is the 7th time an owner has finished 1-2 here at the Indianapolis 500. Chip Ganassi now joins the likes of Team Penske, Treadway Racing, Leader Card, and Lou Moore. And the celebration is about to begin as Dario has made his way down pit lane, and they'll make the turn into victory lane.
He does everything so gracefully, doesn't he?
You know, and I think back throughout this month when the team was struggling, there was a lot of people in the garage area wondering whether or not the old guard here at the track were not going to be able to adapt to these new cars on the ovals, to the high-speed ovals, because at that point in time, you had guys like Joseph Newgarden leading the timesheets many days in practice here, guys, and a lot of people were starting to think that the older guys might not get it, but experience came through.
The other 3-time winners here at Indy: Louis Meyer, Wilbur Shaw, Johnny Rutherford, Elio Castroneves, Maury Rose, and Bobby Unser. You can now add the name Dario Franchitti as he makes the trip to victory lane.
You think she's happy?
Dario Franchitti is a 3-time Indianapolis winner. And as the celebration turns to victory lane,
The car pulls in. The celebration is about to begin here at Indianapolis.
hugs and high fives. They've done it again. What a fabulous finish.
For the 3rd time in his racing career, Dario Franchitti slips the wreath around his neck. He will take the kiss from the Festival Queen, and he will have an opportunity to drink the milk as presented by Dave Forgy from the American Dairy Association. Dario Franchitti wins the Indy 500 for the 3rd time. Dario, you're wearing the white glasses as his wife Ashley comes in to give him a kiss. It has been such an emotional year for not just Dario, but this entire team. Michael Wanzer, the chief strategist for Dario Franchitti, or Barry Wanzer, the chief strategist for Dario. His son Michael passed away earlier this year, and now Dario, on the heels of all that has happened this year, what does it mean to win the Indianapolis 500 today?
I just want to dedicate this to two of Indianapolis' finest, Dan Weldon and Michael Wanzer. Thank you to all the fans for saluting our buddy Dan today. And, oh man, what a race. What a race. I think D-Dub would be proud of that one, just coming from the back there. And that last lap, running side by side with Takuma. I went down and I moved up to give him the room, and then we hit, and I just kept the foot and managed to keep it out of trouble. But thank you to this Target team and my buddy Scott Dixon. And I was looking there at the pole and I was thinking, I don't know who the heck's going to win it, but everybody up there was a friend of Dan's, and I think that about sums it up. Everybody loved Dan.
In the battle at turn 1 with Sato, how did you decide which line to take and what to do as he pressured you from the inside?
Well, now that we're allowed to defend our position, there's a kind of a grey area, so I moved over and I saw he was coming, and I'd come over as he moved, so I came back over and I moved up the track, and I don't know, he got loose. It looks like I just saw the replay. He got loose underneath me, but kind of reminds me of Emerson and Little Al there with the contact at the end, and Scott Harner, my spotter, is on there going, keep going, keep going, keep going, and I'm trying, I'm pulling gears, and I got to say, thank you to Honda as well. We had a really tough qualifying, and these guys worked so hard. And at every race I've won, every IndyCar race has been with Honda. And they worked so bloody hard and showed everybody what they could do today. So thank you. This means the world. This is Indianapolis, man, and 3 times. And to be on the trophy beside Dan, either side, that's more important than anything.
Dario, you're an astute student of the sport of racing. What does it mean to be among those that are 3-time winners at Indianapolis?
Well, the last week I've been studying my buddy JR's, Johnny Rutherford's book, because he gave me it the other night, left a beautiful inscription in it, and said he hoped to welcome me to the 3-time club. So to be in the company of guys like that just means so much. And JR gave me a little wave the first time I led under caution today. We have a little ritual here, and he came up and gave me a wave, so I waved back, and then we went racing again. But what a great race today. I was able to come from the back of the grid after getting hit in pit lane and spun. And again, I can't say enough about this Target team and the adversity they've been through. And Dan was our guy, Michael was our boy, and we just dedicate this to him. And that feels really quite nice right
now. It's a hot day at Indianapolis. Nobody hotter than Chip Ganassi Racing and Dario Franchitti, who gets a hug from his father as he celebrates his 3rd victory at the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
What a day for Dario Franchitti. Early in the race, getting tagged by E.J. Vizo, nose damage, all the way back to 28th position. But now his face will be on that Borg Warner trophy for a 3rd time. This was the last pass attempt by Takuma Sato. And there is the victory. And there is the beginning of the celebration at Indianapolis.